Chapter 616, Cultivation 2. I immediately understand. Those true immortals are in the middle of creating a child right in the center of the open plain, visible to everyone. As we approach their surroundings, the two true immortals even more intensely entangle themselves, as if deliberately showing off. Kururum, kururum. From the union of the two true immortals, stellar winds blow, and stellar lightnings spark. The sun forming within burns ever brighter, its heat intensifying. As if they are changing positions, the forms of the nebulae swirl and mix more vigorously, spiraling chaotically. Juing. Quarurum. Wang. Quajajajijik. Kadudududuk. Quam. 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 As if the true immortals are moaning, letting out cries of union, roars and explosions that seem to split heaven and earth resound and spread throughout the entire universe, with spiritual energy as the medium. At first, I do not realize these are cries of copulation. Only after noticing the lustful intent mixed heavily within the sounds do I understand. Hwala. Elder. Please just move on quickie. I do not want to keep looking at those obscene perverts. Alright. I am dumbfounded, so I quickly pass by them. John Myung-hoon seems to be feeling absurd, his mouth hanging open. Is that the dual cultivation of true immortals? Yes, master. That is normally how it's done. Who would bother to maintain a transformation form while doing it? The transformation form is merely a mask recalling their time as mortals. When true immortals copulate, they instead return to a form closer to their essence. Even so, most have a sense of decorum. They usually create a barrier inside the nebula, or cover the surroundings with a dimensional veil. But those obscene bastards. Oh Hyunsuk and Kim Yun also look stunned, seemingly dazed. Perhaps because none of us have met other true immortals for a long time. It seems we cannot quite comprehend such a transcendent form of union. Then, was that also what Glass Peacock wanted to do with me? Judging by the fact that the two obscene true immortals just now seem to be vestige liberation immortals, it seems their cultivation of the Radiant's 10 heavens is carried out in this manner as well. How long does the copulation between true immortals usually last? Normally, true immortals copulate to fulfill their prophecies, or to create the Radiant's 10 heavens like that. Therefore, once their objective is achieved, it tends to end immediately. Moreover, when the immortal arts or prophecies of two true immortals combine, the realization of the prophecy accelerates tremendously. On the fast end, about 1,000 years. On the slow end, 5,000 to 6,000 years is typical. She lets out a hollow laugh and continues. Before that lunatic true immortal known as the Ignorant One, the longest recorded union between true immortals barely lasted 20,000 years at most. Even true immortals get exhausted when they mix their essences after all. Listening to her, I feel dumbfounded all over again. The maximum copulation period outside Glass Peacock is 20,000 years, and the average is 2,000 to 3,000 years. Then why does Glass Peacock start from tens of thousands of years as a baseline? Once more, I strongly feel that had I been caught by Glass Peacock, I truly might have lost my sanity and gone mad. Afterwards, we continue touring various parts of the twin holding heavenly domain under the guidance of Golden Shaking Bird. And after some time, Kururum. Oh, that place looks good. Perfectly suitable for growing my strength. Seeing how much lightning strikes there, it seems suitable for me as well. Oh Hyunsuk and John Myung-hoon discover a place within a large nebula swirling in purple. There, I spot a massive dimensional rift. Beyond the rift, I can see chaos seeping in from the dimension of the sea outside the heavenly domain. Kugagugum. Oh Hyunsuk reveals his massive body boiling with chaos and flies straight into it, while John Myung-hoon also soars in alongside Golden Shaking Bird, absorbing the lightning rushing in from beyond the chaos. Watching Oh Hyunsuk's back, I smack my lips bitterly. When should I tell him about Azure Tiger Saint? Oh Hyunsuk is still wearing Azure Tiger Saint's blue sky armor. I have no idea where to even begin or how much to tell him. Currently, Oh Hyunsuk's cultivation is at the early stage of Vestige Liberation Immortal, roughly the same realm as John Myung-hoon. For now, since the realm of Vestige Liberation Immortal can destabilize the mind due to the Radiant's 10 heavens, I'll wait until he reaches Upper Immortal to tell him. I reaffirm that now is not yet the time, and transform into my human form. Yana, how about you? She says she will try cultivating here while repairing that rift. Good. Then, since everyone seems to have taken a liking to this place, I'll cultivate here too. In truth, ever since entering this twin-holding heavenly domain and witnessing the swallowing Heaven Supreme Deity for the first time, an inexplicable confidence has been surging within me. For some reason, this entire heavenly domain feels like it's embracing me warmly. I have the intuition that, at least within this heavenly domain, I can cultivate without having to face all sorts of external difficulties like before. Since this is the intuition of a heaven upper immortal, this is practically a prophecy. I feel confident about the future. For some reason, I feel that only under the gaze of the swallowing Heaven Supreme Deity will I be able to safely undergo upper immortal cultivation. Thus, our place of cultivation is decided. We call this place the Purple Lotus Realm, as the shape of this violet nebula resembles a purple lotus flower, and begin our individual cultivation here. Kurururum. I gather up the dust inside the Purple Lotus Realm and create a suitable landmass. Master, is there anything I can assist with? Hong Fan. For now, prioritize on reaching the entering nirvana stage. Yes, Master. I shall do so. But aside from that, if there is any other command, maybe later boiled. I'm thinking of making boiled potatoes, so bring me some potatoes. I think Kim Yun liked potatoes, and since we'll be spending a long time here in the Purple Lotus Realm, anyway I'm thinking of making some potato dishes. TL notes. Boiled and boiled potatoes is which is the same word for life. It was a pun for life is. I see. Understood, Master. I will surely carry out your command. I really like boiled potatoes as well. How fortunate. Is that so? Ha ha ha. Ha 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 ha. Hong Fan laughs heartily and flies off towards the outer edge of the Purple Lotus Realm. Immediately after, I scatter a barrier of filling the heavens governing view around. This place is now practically my domain. Of course, this alone isn't enough. You're wrong. History revision activates, and the entire space revisions itself into an environment favorable to me. Once all preparations are complete, I steady my heart and open my mouth. Geook, Chuuk. At the same time, something massive reveals its presence from within my mouth. Kugagugagugu. A true immortal, wrapped and sealed in my winged garment. It is my heaven upper immortal senior, walking the immortal Tao of the mountain, whom I abducted from Radiance Hall. Be released. Chwerak. Part of the winged garment loosens, and the true immortal begins to regain consciousness. This place is. Greetings, senior. I cannot read the celestial energy. However, judging by the quality of the heaven and earth spiritual energy, perhaps this is twin holding heavenly domain. It seems they are a seasoned true immortal, calmly deducing their location. I've thought about your identity while I was sealed. You must be the one wanted by Radiance Hall, the one they call the return of Vast Cold. Am I correct? Precisely. Why have you kidnapped me? I heard the return of Vast Cold uses the Phenomena Extinguishing Mantra. To use the Phenomena Extinguishing Mantra means you have been acknowledged by the Great Mountain Supreme Deity. I see, I understand now. The true immortal who questions me soon appears to find the answer on their own, glaring at me. You intend to devour this immortal. It's only natural that you would as a disciple of the Great Mountain Supreme Deity. Yes, you wish to devour this immortal and reduce me to the same state as the corpse mountain blood sea of the Great Mountain Supreme Deity. I apologize, but I have no such intention. Rather, I have merely invited Senior to receive your teachings. So it seems you mountain spirits call kidnapping a passerby, swallowing them, binding them tightly, and demanding knowledge and invitation. Ahem, I feel my face flush slightly, but it cannot be helped. I apologize for the violent kidnapping. However, had I politely invited Senior at that time, claiming I wished to receive your teachings, would you have agreed? I would have of course captured you immediately, confined you inside Radiance Hall, and subjected you to torture. You are honest. At our level, what use is there in speaking falsehood? So, what do you plan to do with this immortal? Surprisingly, they appear composed. I will propose a deal. Please impart to me your experience of walking the immortal Tao of the mountain. In return, I shall reveal to you the true will of Radiance Hall, which the Radiance 8 Immortals and the Radiance Supreme Deity are concealing from the true Immortals of Radiance Hall. What guarantee do I have that what you know is the truth? What if I swear before the naming Supreme Deity? Someone like you would likely know how to twist a vow made before a Supreme Deity. Then what should I do to gain your trust? They ponder briefly before speaking. Swear before the Radiance Supreme Deity and the Heavenly Venerable of the Underworld. The two who are the Twilight, Gongyin, light and shadow, of Mount Sumeru. And, should your words prove false, attach the condition that you will pass on the Phenomena Extinguishing Mantra to me. If so, as a senior who has walked the immortal Tao of the mountain, I shall agree to your proposal. I immediately grasped their intention. If I vow to speak of the true will of the Radiance Supreme Deity before the Radiance Supreme Deity, the moment I utter it to keep the promise, Radiance Hall will notice. The Radiance 8 Immortals would descend immediately. Well, fine. I can do that. However, Senior will have to teach me the immortal Tao sincerely and wholeheartedly. Of course, there is no real issue. All I need to do is disclose this truth in a place like the Bearing Tree Heavenly Domain or the Outer Sea, then escape back to the Twin Holding Heavenly Domain using Heavenly Escape. And, I hope you teach me properly, with as much sincerity and wholeheartedness as possible. Should you not, I will bind you with my winged garment, and throw you in front of Glass Peacock residing in the bearing tree heavenly domain. Very well, I shall teach you as best I can. They flinched slightly, as though they had been planning to teach me the immortal Tao in some weird way. My immortal art, the impermanence sword, can reflect your heart through the power of retribution. So, I would advise you not to harbor any deceitful thoughts. Understood. They exhale deeply and begin to shrink their body. Cheek. Before long, what appears before me is a fox demon race with a clean and attractive face with long blue hair. Revealing their transformation form as a fox race cultivator with fox ears and a blue robe, they introduce themselves. This immortal is the white-faced aiding immortal, Bamenji Shan, Ho Woon, a descendant of the immortal beast white-faced golden-furred nine-tailed fox, and a heaven upper immortal from the earth tribe. Sway sway. Behind Ho Woon, 9 luscious blue tails sway gently into view. Yes, I am the crystal glass being, Seo Unhyun. I am from the human race, and a heaven and earth upper immortal. A heaven and earth upper immortal from the human race? Strange. What I saw back then wasn't a human race immortal beast. That, I have some personal circumstances. Well, many of those from the sun and moon heavenly domain tend to be nutcases anyway. If you were someone with a right mind, you wouldn't have attained heaven and earth upper immortal anyway. I don't know. From my perspective, Senior Ho Woon, who reached heaven upper immortal as an earth tribe member, seems even more insane. At my blunt remark, Ho Woon clicks their tongue and replies, "What of it, being a heaven upper immortal from the earth tribe? It's a misunderstood method by many, but even as an earth tribe, there are many ways to learn heaven tribe methods. Are there such ways? You must not know, being some backwater bumpkin from the sun and moon heavenly domain. If you serve a true immortal, you can ask them to grant you a method, or you could receive a ritual method unique to yourself, even if it doesn't suit your race. If that's not possible, you can capture a heaven tribe being and use a body-swapping technique, or seize their body through external incarnation or split-soul techniques, then learn heaven tribe methods in that body." I might not have known the former methods, but I've heard whispers of the latter even within the bright cold realm. However, from what I sense, the plane Senior has seized seems to be the plane of Chi no matter how I look at it. That's correct. I didn't bother learning heaven tribe methods. Then no matter how I think about it, Senior seems to be more insane. What nonsense. Many true immortals choose to set their pathway based on the plane they've seized because it's certainly strong and advantageous, but I've heard not just many, but more like 99 out of 100 of true immortals take that approach. Quiet, quiet. I am speaking here. Anyway, that approach is fine, but there are advantages to setting your pathway based on a plane you haven't seized. You won't be specialized, but you will be versatile. You can read history, and through prophecy, read prophecy at the level of those I can make. I suppose. Recalling how they deduced our location by reading the energy of the twin holding heavenly domain, I nod. Had they been a typical heaven tribe heaven immortal, they would have been helpless in a situation where the celestial energy is cut off by filling the heavens governing view. Understood. It does seem to have its advantages. Exactly. So I'm not the mad one. You're the only madman here. You're quite honest. As I've said repeatedly, what's the point of hiding our inner thoughts at our level? I simply said honestly that I think you're a lunatic. Looking at their disgruntled face, I ask a question. That aside, Senior Ho Woon, are you in a female body or a male body? Does gender have any meaning to a true immortal? There is always the mortal days. Since my mortal days, I've practiced methods that harmonize yin and yang within the body, so I was never really restricted by that. This current transformation form is also sexless. Aside from the face, there is no hole down below. Wasn't there a gender when you were first born? Ho Woon gives me a look as if he's seeing some strange creature, and says, "Why in the world do you care about that? When I was first born, I was a vixen. However, while advancing after seizing the plane of Qi, I read my past through the plane of Qi in the underworld and came to know of my previous life's memories and personality. In that past life, I was male, so I don't have any particular gender identity." I see. Why keep asking about such things? Well, you kept calling me a lunatic over and over since earlier, so I figured if you said it one more time, I'd toss you to Glass Peacock. If I mention your gender identity first, they'd like it a lot more that way. I was wrong. Anything but Glass Peacock. Ho Woon's face darkens, and they lower their posture. Understood. I'll stop here. Good. Well then, I'll be counting on you. Yes, I'll be counting on you as well. Thus, from that day on, I begin receiving teachings about the immortal Tao of the mountain from Ho Woon. Chapter 617, Cultivation 3. First, I will hear how you came to walk the immortal Tao of the mountain. Go ahead, speak. Ho Woon asks me why I have chosen the immortal Tao of the mountain. I answer while eating the boiled potato that Hong Fan brought. I am in a senior-junior brother relationship with the great mountain supreme deity, Guak Am. What? As expected, Ho Wun's eyes widen in shock. To be precise, Guak Am is the formal disciple, and I was acknowledged as a disciple through my master's lingering thought. I give them a rough explanation of our relationship. And so, Guak Am later told me to settle things between us, and I too, to prove that I am also my master's disciple by defeating Guak Am, and to soothe the souls of my compatriots killed by Guak Am, have chosen the immortal Tao of the Mount. After hearing the entire story, Ho Wun's mouth drops open as they mutter. A madman. You're a madman. Well, if you said you would defeat an immortal lord as a great net immortal, I could understand. It's rare, but not without precedent. But a supreme deity. You're saying you will defeat a supreme deity who has reached the pinnacle of the same immortal Tao while still as a great net immortal? And not just any supreme deity, but that great mountain supreme deity who has lived for over 700 billion years, accumulating endless power and authority. 700 billion years old. That guy's way older than I thought. Ho Wun trembles as if frightened. You are truly insane. They are not even someone like Bong Myong, who just reached supreme deity. The one who can be compared to the being known as the god of gods 20 billion years ago is the current great mountain supreme deity. Madman, you're going to fight the great mountain supreme deity as a great net immortal and seize the seat. Kukik, kukukukwa. As if they find it too absurd, Ho Wun bursts into laughter. Damn it, I've gotten tangled with a lunatic worse than I thought. Your madness is comparable to Glass Peacock. I don't think it's quite that bad. Kukik, you don't even realize how mad you are. Well, fine. I understand. It's a goal that makes me shudder just thinking about it. Good then. Since you possess the phenomena-extinguishing mantra and have even risen to heaven earth upper immortal, I suppose it's fine if I just teach you the techniques and tips I know. First, show me your immortal crown. Ho Wun, wearing an oddly amused expression, tells me to display something called an immortal crown. However, I ask with a troubled expression, what exactly is this immortal crown? It's a term I had heard in my past life from Meg Jean and the other true immortals of the Flying Immortal Alliance. However, I've never managed to figure out what exactly an immortal crown is. At my words, Ho Wun clears their throat and says, the immortal crown, I'm talking about the immortal crown. Did they call it something different in the sun and moon heavenly domain? It's also called immortal clothes, immortal robe, immortal staff, and so on. No, if you properly cultivated the immortal Tao, there is no way you wouldn't know what an immortal crown is. Why do you not understand what I'm saying? But I scratch my head with a really troubled look, and Ho Wun speaks as if frustrated. I'm not going to run away, so release your winged garment. I feel like I'll kill myself from frustration otherwise. I'll show you my immortal crown, so you follow and take yours out too. Well, alright. Sarurik. I release the winged garment that has been restraining Ho Wun's power. Ho Wun rises from their seat. Shururik. Behind Ho Wun, a winged garment similar to mine appears. Kururum. At the same time, Ho Wun begins to reveal their essence and descend their true body. Kugigum. Above the landmass I created, Ho Wun's main body emerges. A humanoid divine spirit whose face is obscured by light. This divine spirit wears a robe of light, resembling the Radiant's 8 immortals, but appearing slightly lower in rank. Behold, this is the immortal crown. Simultaneously, a familiar energy spreads outward from around Ho Wun. It is the power of the mountain. Along with it, a headpiece in the form of a Fujin, is placed upon their head. That Fujin exudes a strange feeling, and I sense it itself is a single mountain. Countless mountain peaks come together to form the Fujin. As I gaze upon that Fujin made of mountains, radiating an inexplicable divine aura, I suddenly notice that countless mountain ranges have sprouted behind Ho Wun's back. The mountains in the Fujin have manifested in the surroundings. Moreover, their size defies the laws of physics or any sensible notion within the lower realm. They are mountain ranges literally the size of fixed stars. Kugagugum. Ho Wun grabs one of the nearby mountains with their hand, plucks it out, and hurls it at me. Quarurum. The massive fixed star-sized mountain range flies towards me, and I draw the impermanence sword as I face it. Wuwung. Severing heaven sword form. Second form. Treading heaven, counterstrike. I use a move containing the principle of echoing valley from the severing mountain swordsmanship, overlaying the power of the impermanence sword, and naturally redirect the mountain back towards Ho Wun. Quang. Ho Wun gets struck by the mountain they threw themselves and collapses with a scream. Ku. Kururum. The temporary landmass I created shakes violently, and I once again bind Ho Wun tightly through my winged garment. Bound by the winged garment imbued with filling the heavens governing view, Ho Wun returns to their transformation form. The sprawling mountain ranges surrounding us vanish, and the Fujin floating above Ho Wun's head disappears as well. Was that just now the immortal crown? That's one way to put it. You were planning to kill me with it and run away, weren't you? That's one way to put it. You're very honest. I decide to hang Ho-Woon upside down. If you keep doing that, we'll both get tired. If you do it next time, I'll bring out a six-sided club. Huh. Ridiculous. A club of all things. Well, think whatever you like. So, was that just now the immortal crown? Yes. The terms immortal crown and immortal staff are the most widely used. Ho-Woon, suspended upside down by my winged garment, begins explaining. When one's understanding of the immortal Tao they walk reaches a certain level, certain immortals can draw out an even more fundamental power of the immortal Tao. You're saying certain immortals, so there are immortals who can't draw it forth at all. Is there some standard? That's right. Do you know why so many true immortals, even after realizing that at the end of the path they walk lies a supreme deity or heavenly venerable, knowing that no matter how hard they try, they won't rise beyond great net immortal, still stubbornly refuse to change paths and continue walking an immortal Tao that has a governing immortal? I've never really thought about that. Come to think of it, it is indeed curious. Why are there true immortals who deliberately choose to cultivate an immortal Tao that already has an owner? Unless one, like John Myung-hoon and myself, is insane enough to attempt to challenge a supreme deity as a great net immortal and seize their seat. Wouldn't it be more reasonable to walk an immortal Tao whose seat is vacant or whose seat holder is only an immortal lord? The reason is precisely this immortal crown. About that power called immortal crown, could it be? That's right. Ho-Woon nods and tells me. The immortal crown is a power drawn from a supreme deity. It is not a power that can be drawn simply from a vacant seat or origin essence. It emerges only under the seat of supreme deities or heavenly venerables who have fully made the seat their own and succeeded in increasing the seat's power. The stronger the supreme deity's power, the stronger this immortal crown becomes. If it's a supreme deity at the level of the great mountain supreme deity, then the immortal crown of those walking the immortal Tao under that seat, as long as they can properly draw forth its power, would be enough to contend with an immortal lord even as a great net immortal. Wu-Won. Ho-Woon opens their eyes wide and begins to focus their consciousness. Above their head, a faint shape of a Fujin begins to appear. And for particularly powerful supreme deities, or heavenly venerables, yes. For governing immortals of the so-called heavenly venerable rank, they even bestow such immortal crowns to those who worship them. Wu-Won. Other than the Fujin over Ho-Woon's head, their consciousness focuses to form another faint image. It is a belt in the form of a thin strip, shibtaogai, a type of sash worn with robes. From it radiates a feeling reminiscent of sunlight, exuding the same sensation of light felt when facing the Radiance 8 immortals. So, the true immortals affiliated with Radiance Hall, through this immortal crown of Radiance Hall, can draw upon the power of radiance to some extent even without walking the immortal Tao of that seat. Of course, the reapers of the underworld or subordinates of other heavenly venerables similarly receive and use power in this manner. In short, there are immortals who walk an immortal Tao under a governing immortal simply to receive power from the governing immortal. That's one way to put it. Additionally, it also serves as a measure within the same immortal Tao of how much one has cultivated. After all, the amount of power one can draw from the immortal crown differs depending on how far they've cultivated along that immortal Tao. I recall the power of the immortal crown of the mountain I just felt. Then I think of the power of light used by the true immortals affiliated with Radiance Hall, and the power of the underworld used by the reapers. As I think of such things, I ask, then in the end, isn't that power merely borrowed from the supreme deity? In a way, you could say that. If so, wouldn't it eventually have to be returned when facing the supreme deity one day? Ho-Woon scratches their head, then speaks. Well, sane folks don't entertain the idea of challenging the supreme deity of their immortal Tao, so who knows? But it shouldn't necessarily be the case. Why do you think I walked the immortal Tao of that madman great mountain supreme deity and cultivated hard to obtain the immortal crown? They point at the Fujin on their head with their tail. This is certainly power borrowed from the supreme deity, but because it is the same power as the supreme deities, it also protects us from the supreme deity. For example, even if you use the phenomena extinguishing mantra, I am confident I won't be caught up in it. The immortal crown neutralizes the supreme deity's power. From the start, though the immortal crown originates from the supreme deity, it is not simply loaned. It is more like opening up a new system of power, and we cultivate that system with our own strength. Is that so? If that's the case, it's rather welcome news for me. Only by having the immortal crown would it be easier to confront the great mountain supreme deity. Then please teach me how to obtain the immortal crown. I must acquire one. Upon hearing my words, Ho-Woon looks at me as if I've said something completely nonsensical. Why are you looking at me like that? I mean, I showed you, didn't I? Even though I had impure intentions mixed in and ended up hanging like this. Once you've seen it, shouldn't you be able to bring it out too? What do you mean, obtain an immortal crown? You don't tell me. Ho-Woon stares at me with confused and flustered eyes and says, even after reaching Heaven Earth Upper Immortal, you still haven't obtained an immortal crown? I avoid Ho-Woon's gaze and clear my throat. It appears so. This is crazy. Ho-Woon sighs deeply. Lower me for a moment. If you haven't obtained an immortal crown, it's probably one of two reasons. I need to check. What are the two reasons? I lower Ho-Woon and ask, and they explain. You've chosen the immortal Tao of the mountain, but haven't actually cultivated it at all. Or, the power of the mountain immortal Tao isn't being provided to you. Release the winged garment. I really won't pull any nonsense this time. I release Ho-Woon, and they circle around me, inspecting me here and there. Then, with a face as if they cannot understand, they speak. Just by looking like this, I can't figure out what the problem is. I'll need to look more closely. Is there something I need to do? Take off your clothes. How much do I need to take off? All of it. I'm going to examine your body thoroughly. Ho-Woon flicks their 9 tails and orders me with a confident expression. Chapter 618, Cultivation 4. Take off my clothes, you say? Why is that necessary? I ask while eyeing Ho-Woon's swaying tail suspiciously. Come now, are you so shy? There are hardly any among true immortals who properly wear clothes anyway. So what is there to be embarrassed about? I need to examine your body. So stop talking nonsense and strip. Understood. I have no choice but to comply with Ho-Woon's order and begin removing the clothes draped over my transformation body one by one. Pasak, pasasak. Each time I wave my hand, my white robe evaporates, exposing my upper body. Just then Ho-Woon, seemingly dumbfounded, flushes red in the face and shouts aloud. No, what are you doing right now? I told you to take off your clothes, so why are you just peeling off the outer shell bit by bit? Pardon? You told me to take off my clothes. No, don't you know what clothes are? I mean the shell? Honestly, is it because you're some bumpkin from the backwater sun and moon heavenly domain that you know none of the common sense of the true immortal realm? Ho-Woon beats their chest with their fist in frustration, and as I listen to their explanation, I finally understand. For true immortals, clothes refer to the kind of transformation where you force your essence into the appearance of mortal beings. I'm telling you to discard that artificially adorned transformation form and reveal your true body. Just what were you even thinking, you lecherous fool? That wasn't even included in Blood Yin's common knowledge. It seems it was too basic to be deliberately included. Suddenly called lecherous out of nowhere, I feel somewhat wronged, but I let out a deep sigh and begin to reveal my true body. Come to think of it, is this the first time I'm revealing my true body as a Heaven-Earth Upper Immortal? Kugagugagugu. My physical form distorts, surpassing the form of a mortal. Wu-wong. The essence of a Heaven-Earth Upper Immortal bursts forth. However, perhaps because the power of heaven innately holds an advantage over the power of earth, the essence of Heaven Upper Immortal emerges first. As an Earth Upper Immortal, my body is composed of mist and the candle flame of glass true fire. But as a Heaven Upper Immortal, my body is composed of swords and white light. I am a sword mountain. Kugagugagugu. My size expands, gradually growing comparable to an entire stellar system. At the same time, the symbol of a pure white 3 great ultimates naturally forms behind my head. It feels as though the very shape of the pure white 3 great ultimates clings to my essence as a Heaven-Earth Upper Immortal. My entire being is familiarly composed of sword mountains made of glass. Those glass sword mountains gather to form a round collar robe, and due to the pure white 3 great ultimates, it appears like a white round collar robe. Beneath the white round collar robe of glass sword mountains, a faint aurora covers me, making my form difficult to discern, and the same applies to my face. On the chest area, a large white quince flower is prominently drawn, while at the shoes, a divine aurora swirls, supporting me. Once my Heaven Upper Immortal essence fully emerges, my Earth Upper Immortal essence follows. Beneath the white round collar robe of glass sword mountains, a dragon's tail made of hazy mist grows. My hands and feet become even more jagged, and on the bare flesh and face that had been only aurora, glass true fire begins to blaze. Atop my head, the horn of candle shadow sprouts, and emitting a much fiercer presence than before, my body, once the size of a stellar system, grows even larger, to the point where I can hold an entire stellar system in one hand. Puak. As the powers of heaven and earth unite, my body grows so immense that I pierce straight through the purple nebula of the purple lotus realm. Finally, the recently acquired winged garment naturally settles upon my shoulders, and I reveal my complete true form as a Heaven and Earth Upper Immortal. A half-human, half-beast giant god clad in a white round collar robe made of glass sword mountains. That is the current me. Wu-Woon. Ho-Woon also casts off their transformation form and reveals their true body before me. A true immortal of pale light, wearing a pale round collar robe with a fujin made of mountains and a sash of light. Mortal beings would likely return to thee on the spot just by perceiving us, and the space where mortals reside would be swept away and destroyed. Ho Wun's true body is only the size of my palm. Your weight class is terrifying. Damn it, I should have realized it back then and fled. Ho Wun, seemingly aghast, circles around me and inspects various parts of my immortal body. Let's see. The flow of heaven and earth's spiritual energy seems stable, the internal world appears healthy, and the powers of prophecy and revision are at appropriate levels. For an immortal beast, you seem to have almost no salt crystal, but considering you've just advanced and have the phenomena extinguishing mantra, I suppose it doesn't matter. Ho Wun circles around me, occasionally shooting small energies into my body, inserting planets, and even briefly entering my internal world to look around. After some time, they let out a long sigh and speak. It's done. I've found the cause. What is it? It's you. Ho Wun sighs so deeply it seems the ground itself sinks. You've been cultivating the immortal Tao of the mountain in an utterly inefficient manner. For a being who has reached heaven and earth upper immortal, to think your cultivation of the immortal Tao is this poor, I would never have imagined it. Pardon, I, who had vaguely assumed something was blocking the distribution of the immortal crown, am taken aback at the unexpected words and mouth hang open. At my request, we return to our transformation forms and begin a brief lesson. First of all, you're in an extremely malformed state right now. I don't know how you became an upper immortal, but I can only assume you advanced through the most unorthodox of unorthodox methods. And this is just my guess, but you, aside from the phenomena extinguishing mantra, you know other mantras too, don't you? Yes. The wheel, the flawless mantra, and the impermanence sword. Including the phenomena extinguishing mantra, I am cultivating about 4 mantras. You lunatic? You absolute lunatic. Ho Wun rubs their forehead as they speak. Most true immortals usually take around 10 million years to obtain just 1 mantra, and you've got 4. Then, by any chance, what's the rank of your mantras? No, never mind. Forget it. There's no way you'd understand if I ask like that. Have you ever felt as though the mantras are alive and moving? Pardon? Of course, I feel that every moment. Do the mantras ever speak to you on their own? Since mantras are innate true immortals, isn't it natural for them to speak to their master? Then have your mantras ever moved on their own without your command? Not every moment, but quite often. Ho Wun looks up at the sky with a dumbfounded expression. You madman. Pardon. Mantras that even after millions of years of groveling beneath supreme deities or heavenly venerables would be difficult to obtain. You have 4 of them. Judging by the characteristics you've mentioned, they sound like indicators of rather exceptional mantras. It's beyond exceptional, you backwater bumpkin from the sun and moon heavenly domain. Right now, you're carrying 4 mantras at the level of a supreme deity. Moreover, that wave I feel from your body. Ho Wun points at me, their hand trembling. You've already made 2 of those 4 supreme deity-level mantras completely your own. Yes, well, something like that. And there seems to be a misunderstanding. One of them is actually my natal immortal art that I created myself. The mantras I made my own, that Ho Wun speaks of are the phenomena extinguishing mantra and the impermanence sword. From the very beginning, the impermanence sword is no different from my own clone, and the phenomena extinguishing mantra is something I have used with the recognition from its original owner, the Salt Sea Supreme Deity. Moreover, after receiving violent teachings from the Great Mountain Supreme Deity and continuously subjecting myself to repentant enlightenment, I have now made more than 90% of it my own. However, no matter how hard I try, the flawless mantra and the mantra of the will do not seem to completely permit me. In the case of the flawless mantra, it feels like my proficiency is lacking, while the mantra of the wheel seems to simply not acknowledge me yet. Someday, I'll have to properly master both of them. As I am thinking this, Ho Wun stares at me with their mouth agape. Why you made it? One of them. That's correct, but... Ho Wun stares at me dumbly for a long while. Then, regaining their senses after some time, they smile bitterly. No wonder Radiance Hall called you the return of vast cold and put out a bounty on you. You monstrous bastard. Undoubtedly, you'll become an enormous obstruction to Radiance Hall's future. Killing intent flickers in Ho Wun's eyes. It's making me wonder if it would be right to sacrifice my life right here and now and scatter into ash in order to deal you a fatal blow. Wu Wun. I reassemble the surrounding particles and create a solid 6-sided club. Tack tack. Tapping the club a few times in my hand, I glance at Ho Wun. Are all foxes the type that only listens after being beaten a little? Just then? Well, whatever. What could I possibly accomplish by fighting you? Given the difference in weight class I saw earlier, I wouldn't even be able to inflict decent damage and would just die. Just make sure you properly reveal the true will of Radiance Hall someday. Of course, you need not worry about that. Then fine. Anyway, continuing the explanation. Normal immortals grow by following the immortal Tao they have chosen and using the power aligned to that immortal Tao. Through their chosen immortal Tao, they use immortal arts to construct the Radiance 10 Heavens, and through the Radiance 10 Heavens, they rise to upper immortal. I see. But you must have either practiced the Radiance 10 Heavens cultivation itself in a strange way, or perhaps you simply brute force through the cultivation using the power of your mantras alone. Isn't that right? That's right. Both are true. I didn't cultivate the Radiance 10 Heavens in the orthodox manner, and I did push through with the power of my mantras. The power of the mantras you possess is so overwhelming that it has led to this disaster. Any ordinary prophecy, even if it wasn't part of the immortal Tao you walk, would have been overwhelmed just by your sheer weight class, and there wouldn't have been any need to use the ordinary power of the immortal Tao, as just roughly forcing through with the mantras alone would have been enough. As a result, there would have been no reason to look back on your own immortal Tao. On top of that, since it said there's hardly any true immortals in the sun and moon heavenly domain, there would have been no one to tell you what's gone wrong. I let out a low murmur. Indeed, I have been walking the immortal Tao of the mountain, but unlike before, I often felt that I wasn't following the proper method of understanding before breakthrough. So it was because of this. Damn it. Thanks to my promise to teach you with utmost sincerity and wholeheartedness, I can't even pretend not to notice this. Ho Wun lets out a deep sigh and speaks to me. The power of your immortal Tao itself is currently at the early vestige liberation immortal level. You've simply climbed to this realm by brute force thanks to the overwhelming strength of your mantras. From now on, while undergoing the cultivation of heaven and earth upper immortal together with me, you will focus solely on cultivating the power of your own immortal Tao. You need to solidify your fundamentals, understood? Yes, thank you. I will learn diligently. Good then. Phew, damn it. I don't even know where to start teaching you. The future is dark. Having my problem diagnosed by Ho Wun, from that day on, I begin earnest cultivation alongside Ho Wun to accumulate the immortal Tao of the mountain. First, what do you think the immortal Tao of the mountain is? I believe it is the immortal Tao of the power of accumulation. That's right. Slowly accumulating to create something. That is the mountain immortal Tao. Then, what do you think is the most necessary thing to accumulate the immortal Tao of the mountain? It would be to accumulate something, I suppose. Correct. You know well. Then you understand what you need to do from now on, don't you? So you're telling me to accumulate a great mountain. No, what nonsense are you spouting? Ho Wun shakes their head repeatedly. Don't talk about flying when you can't even walk yet. You're in the position of crawling, no? Of an infant who needs to flip over. They point to the ground. RTOC. At the spot they point, a circle with a diameter of 10 cun is drawn. Starting today, regardless of what material you use, accumulate a mountain inside that circle. Well, rather than a mountain, it would be more fitting to call it a sandcastle. That's really simple. I crush nearby stones into powder and pour the sand into the circle. But at that moment, Ho Wun swings their tail. She'll peek. Their thick, soft tail swiftly strikes and scatters the sand lump I made. What are you doing? Who told you to accumulate a sandcastle by moving directly yourself? Do you think you're some 6-year-old mortal brat? Even if you're a baby now, you're still a baby at true immortality. Chiak. Ho Wun points to the sky. If you are a true immortal, control attraction force. Raise stars, and use the power of prophecy to accumulate the sandcastle. Of course, since you are an upper immortal, you can use revision instead of prophecy. However, you are absolutely forbidden from directly interfering with reality. Understood? So, you're telling me to use prophecy and revision to accumulate a mere sandcastle? One that fits inside that circle. When I ask back, incredulous, Ho Wun's face contorts at once. What? A mere sandcastle? Have you lost your mind? Ho Wun's eyes flip, and they snatch the 6-sided club from my hand and start beating me like crazy. Cuff. What are you? Shut up. No matter how strong you are, right now, I am standing here as your immortal realm senior who is helping you. Peek. Pack. They strike me fiercely with the 6-sided club, lecturing me. There is no such thing as mere. I don't know how arrogantly you strutted about during your mortal days. But as we cultivate the immortal Tao and raise our realms, there is something we all come to realize. That in this world, there is nothing that is insignificant. Every single speck of dust beneath our feet, every single grain of sand, is a foundation that forms the world. From the true persons who reach the pinnacle of mortal beings to the vestige liberation immortals, there are plenty of arrogant ones. Why? Because they lived thinking they were the best and entered the immortal family that way. To them, everything in this world looks trivial, like mere grains of sand. However, at the very least, we must not be like that. Because the immortal Tao of the mountain, all the mountains in this world, are ultimately formed by the accumulation of the grains of sand we deem trivial. Peek, peek, peek. Once you accumulate grains of sand into a mountain, then you may be arrogant. Because having accumulated a mountain means you have learned how to cherish each grain of sand. After that, it's fine to look down on mountains lower than yours. You'll have no choice but to look down on them anyway. But someone like you, who has nothing besides mantras, must not be arrogant. Lower your head, get down and observe each grain of sand. That is the task you must do right now. Throw away your conceited heart and prepare yourself to properly accumulate. Peak. Ho Wun's six-sided club is sharp. By my standards, that strength feels like a child smacking me with a reed leaf, but the truth within it is sharp, so I respectfully kneel on my knees. I have misspoken. Please withdraw your anger. If you understand, hurry up and start. Kugagugum. I immediately rise and make a prophecy. I prophesize, in this place, a sand mountain 1 chi high shall be accumulated. Kugagugagu. A star is born within my body, and the newborn star emerges into the cosmic space, beginning to alter reality. Kugagugum. I can sense the time when the prophecy of fate will be realized. 400 years. For piling a single sand mountain, the time is overwhelmingly long. Fate, without exception, tries to guide reality in the most natural way possible. Therefore, to avoid disturbing that divine providence, it takes considerable time for a prophecy to come true. If you want to shorten the time it takes, scatter prophecies frequently and lay the groundwork, aligning the branches of the future so it doesn't deviate from divine providence. I see. Until now, I've only used prophecy in combat, so a prophecy that takes this long feels somewhat unfamiliar to me. However, since you are in the position of cultivating now, I'll impose restrictions on you. For each mountain you accumulate, you may use prophecy and revision only twice each. If you use both prophecy and revision together, only one of each is allowed. Understood. Woo-woo. I gather a taiji in both hands. In the next moment, I detonate the taiji. Since the taiji explodes in a place within the plane of chi far away from even the material realm, no explosion occurs in reality. History revision. The soil around where the sand mountain will be accumulated has been, since the time this immortal created this land, the optimal soil for accumulating a mountain. Since I am the one who created this land, revision regarding the landmass is easy. Woo-woo. Divine providence becomes natural by my revision, and the likelihood of the prophecy being fulfilled rises. As a result, I perceive that the time needed for the prophecy to be realized has shortened to 200 years. All right, then enough observing here. Let's rise to the true immortal realm. Even just having your main body observe causes enormous influence. If you really want, you can leave one incarnation behind. Understood. Woo-woo. I leave one incarnation behind, making it face the circle Ho Wun has drawn, and rise together with Ho Wun to the true immortal realm. Kugagugum. The familiar true immortal realm greets me. Something is different from before. But as I look around the true immortal realm, I realize the scenery has somehow changed compared to before. It's not just darkness. It resembles a night sky. Just as stars are densely embedded in a dark night sky, within the attraction force of the endlessly vast Mount Sumru, lights are twinkling. They are probably all true immortals. Having risen to heaven and earth upper immortal, my senses have strengthened, and I seem to perceive true immortals more clearly. When I first rose to the true immortal realm, I thought the true immortal realm was truly desolate. I thought it was a cold and empty place. But I was wrong. Here and there, scattered throughout the true immortal realm, scattered all across Mount Sumru, everyone is living. Nearby, a red light. A little farther away, a dark blue light. Then again, nearby, purple light and pale pink light shine. They are all comrades who have each reached true immortality or realms corresponding to it. I do not see the light that appears to be Kim Young-hoon, but since his physical body is near us, I can feel his presence. His mind, I heard, is wandering outside Mount Sumru, in the outer sea. However, since there is the guarantee of the heavenly venerable of the underworld, we will meet again eventually. Having risen in realm, it looks a little more beautiful than before. I smile as I look around at the approximately 10,000 true immortals scattered like stars across the darkness-covered Mount Sumru. Let's continue moving upward. Our goal can only be attained by advancing upward. It is when I am taking in the scenery of the true immortal realm after a long time. Truly, the true immortal domain is comfortable. The Saha world is far too restrictive. I flinch in surprise as I glance at the main body of Ho Wun standing right beside me. I heard that originally in the true immortal realm, even if we are close in the lower realm, we would be distanced due to our respective domains. Isn't that obvious? What do you think is the root of domains, internal worlds, and immortal bodies in the first place? Ultimately, our immortal bodies and domains are greatly influenced by the immortal Tao we walk. Since we are walking the same immortal Tao, if we are close together in the Saha world, we end up staying close together in the true immortal realm as well. Huh. Now then, from now on, watch the Saha world quietly from the true immortal domain, and you see whether your prophecy is fulfilled while practicing repentant enlightenment. That is the surest way to develop your fundamentals. Kugagugum. At that moment, Ho-Woon suddenly places their hand on my arm. Pot. Ho-Woon's immortal body connects with mine, and in an instant, our worlds touch. Is this your world? I blink as I gaze at Ho-Woon's internal world, an endlessly stretching snow mountain. A night world where eternal blizzards blow through endlessly connected snow mountains, and stars densely fill the sky. That is the interior of Ho-Woon's immortal body. Woo-Woon. Ho-Woon appears at the boundary of my world in their transformation form, clicking their tongue as they observe my world. What a crazy world. A world of glass, sword mountains. I had suspected it ever since I saw that your true body had no face. But just what kind of painful life have you lived? Haha, who knows? But I couldn't see a face on Senior Ho-Woon's true body as well. Humph, that's none of your business. Anyway, show your transformation form. I emerge my transformation form inside my immortal body, facing Ho-Woon at the boundary of my world. Since we'll be idle for a few hundred years anyway, how about we play some Go to pass the time? Coom. A Go board flies in from somewhere and spreads out between the boundaries of Ho-Woon's and my immortal body. Ho-Woon gathers their energy to form Go stones and speaks. Sit down. Do you play some Go? Actually, I don't know the rules. What? How can someone who is a true immortal not know how to play Go? Truly, you are a fellow who lacks elegance. As I'm flustered, Ho-Woon clicks their tongue and clenches the Go stones. The Go stones change shape, transforming into octagons and growing larger. The grid lines on the Go board change as well. Then surely you know how to play Jengi, right? The shapes and patterns of the Jengi pieces differ from those of our world, and the design of the Jengi board is also slightly different as well. Of course, Jengi is something one becomes accustomed to after a few games, so even if the appearance differs and the rules vary slightly, it wouldn't be a problem. But there is another issue. Actually, I don't know the rules of Jengi either. Indeed, even back on Earth, I have never played Jengi. So how could I possibly play Mount Sumeru's Jengi? Ho-Woon's face turns bright red. You ignorant fool. To think you don't even know how to play Jengi. You truly know not a single way to enjoy elegance. Fine, then surely you know how to play 7 stones. If it's 7 stones. Listening to Ho-Woon's explanation, I realize it's a game quite similar to 5 stones. Gamoku, from Earth. Editor. Gamoku involves taking turns placing stones on a 15 by 15 grid. The winner is the one who is first to get a 5 in a row, either horizontally, vertically, or diagonally. However, unlike Earth's version, it seems to be a game where one aligns 7 stones instead of 5. I'm at the level of understanding the rules. Good. That's something at least. You're of some age, so surely you've played quite a bit of 7 stones. For someone our age to say they understand the rules means they can play decently, right? Actually, I've never played 7 stones before, and even with 5 stones, which lowers the number of stones, I've only played it exactly 5 times in my life. 5 stones wasn't interesting, so after learning it during school days, I never played it again. At my words, Ho-Woon speaks with an utterly dumbfounded expression. What in the world do you know how to play then? I feel a little embarrassed, but suddenly think of a good idea. I've played a lot of Alkaji. How about Alkaji? And I get to see Ho-Woon's face twist up completely. TL/N. It's a game played on the Go board where you flick your stones to knock the opponent's stones off the board. 200 years have passed. My territory is bigger. This is my victory. For 200 years, I learned Go, Jengi, and 7 stones from Ho-Woon, and while continuing my personal cultivation, advanced my skills rapidly. Before I know it, after 200 years, I have reached the level where I can beat Ho-Woon in Go. You madman. In just 200 years, against this immortal with 300,000 years of experience. Ho-Woon trembles, their 9 tails quivering. It's an area where I have more talent than I thought, so I'm a bit surprised myself. Games like Go, where one destroys the opponent's territory and captures their stones, and Jengi, where one kills the opponent's pieces and captures the king, turn out to be areas where I possess overwhelming talent. Especially in Go, where I destroy the opponent's territory, plunder their domain, and devour their stones. I seem to bloom with talent as if possessed by a god. At first, I always picked up the black stones, but at some point, I began playing white stones against Ho-Woon. The one game I lack talent in is 7 stones, but Ho-Woon actually finds 7 stones crude and dislikes it. So for 200 years, we only played Jengi and Go without end. How fascinating to discover unexpected talent in something like this. Whenever I play Go, every time I plunder the opponent's territory and domain, an indescribable thrill surges within me, and it feels as if someone is whispering the correct moves in my ear. So it's this enjoyable to plunder the opponent's domain. Through playing Go, I come to understand the true fun of Go. Amidst countless possibilities, picking the moves most favorable to me, progressing step by step, snatching what belongs to the opponent, and devouring it. This pleasure, it delivers a powerful exhilaration to me. And as I feel it, I come to a realization. Ah, I see. Maybe my fate and abilities as an ender have been specialized in playing Go all along. Suddenly, I think that if I had become a Go player instead of a martial artist, I might have realized my fate much sooner. But the problem is, I can't become stronger through Go alone. Feeling a tinge of regret, I conclude the game with Ho Woon. Anyway, it's finally been 200 years. Right. I focus my mind on the Saha world, in other words, the lower realm, that I have been looking downwards at even while playing Go. Huai Thai. Wind is blowing over the landmass I have created, and at the center of that landmass, around the spot where Ho Woon drew a circle, several clumps are gathered together. There are chunks of stone and heaps of soil piled up like small hills. This is the result of 200 years of twisting divine providence with a prophetic star to fulfill the prophecy. At last, the wind blowing over the landmass carries a few grains of sand, dropping them inside the circle Ho Woon has drawn. Wu Wong. At that moment, I feel something growing within my chest. Chi. In reality, somewhere within my colorless sword enclosure, a mound of sand identical in form to that mound of sand manifests. My prophecy has been realized. My revision has succeeded. Finally, after 200 years, a tiny sand mountain has been completed. It's done now. What should I do next? Ho Woon, who is tidying up the ghost stones, speaks as they gaze down at the Saha world with me. You've taken your first step. Congratulations. You've managed to flip over as a baby. Giving me a short compliment, Ho Woon proceeds to explain what I must do next. Because of the achievement just now, that sand mountain itself has become your immortal art. It is a sand mountain you accumulated yourself, after all. From now on, you can use that sand mountain as your immortal art at any time without needing prophecy. Indeed, it is so. That small sand mountain manifested inside my body is now a part of my strength. Then, the next stage. The immortal art of that sand mound is now the power of your immortal Tao. The prophecies of true immortals can only be imbued into the source of attraction force. That's why true immortals usually imbue their prophecies into stars. And, since that sand mound has now become your immortal art, it has become a source of attraction force. In the Saha world, it's just a pile of sand, but because it originates from you, it is pulling you. Ho Woon points at the sand mound as they speak. Pour in your strength, whether it is prophecy or revision, into that sand mound. Then, next to that sand mound, accumulate an even bigger sand mound. Once the larger sand mound is completed, repeat the same process again. Hearing Ho Woon's words, I come to understand what it truly means to cultivate the immortal Tao. I understand why this is called solidifying the foundations. Keep repeating this accumulation over and over again. Gradually grow your mountain in this way. And one day, when you create a mountain that covers the entire land, that will be the foundation of the immortal Tao of the mountain. I bow my head at Ho Woon's advice and continue cultivating my immortal art. Like so, around 800 years pass. Kururum. Hong Fan advances to the entering nirvana stage, and before I realize it, I have created an immortal art that builds mountains the size of neighborhood hills. As I watch Hong Fan conducting his entering nirvana advancement ritual, I gather together the continents where I have accumulated numerous mountains and compress them into a small star. Far away, the sons of the Radiance 10 Heavens, created by John Myung-hoon, Oh Hyun-suk, and others, shine down upon this star. Kururum. The star vein emitted by Hong Fan pierces into the star I have created. The dragon vein across the entire star activates, and life begins to sprout on the surface of the star. It will not be long before the life forms evolve, and civilization and intelligence begin to emerge. A bit slow, but you are steadily growing, I see. That seems to be the case. Then, starting today, cultivate both the immortal Tao of the mountain and the upper immortal cultivation together. Oh, may I do that now? Originally, I had intended to pursue upper immortal cultivation alongside the immortal Tao cultivation much earlier. However, Ho Woon scolded me, saying it was far too soon to attempt both at once, so I refrained. Well, now that your immortal art has grown this much, it's about time you learn to gaze down upon mortal beings. Besides, the cultivation ahead aligns well with the upper immortal cultivation. Is that so? I recall the contents of the upper immortal cultivation and smile bitterly. The formula of the upper immortal cultivation consists of two methods, yang pitch, yeler, and in pitch, yin, and one can cultivate by following either method. The formula of yang pitch is simple. It involves either flourishing 6 different races and civilizations within a single heavenly domain, or flourishing a single race across 6 different heavenly domains. However, the problem lies with in pitch. Yin pitch entails erasing 6 different civilizations and races within a single heavenly domain entirely, or erasing one civilization and race from 6 different heavenly domains. And in the case of yang pitch, there is an additional condition. The race and civilization must be races and civilizations that have never existed before. A malicious way of cultivation designed to be easier to advance one's realm through destruction alone. That is the formula of the upper immortal cultivation, yang pitch and yin pitch. Chapter 619, Cultivation 5. That lunatic Great Mountain Supreme Deity. Now that I think about it, all the realms overseen by the Great Mountain Supreme Deity seem to be utterly deranged. Back during the 4-axis stage, they encouraged unorthodox methods so much, and now they're outright pushing for cultivation solely through the way of yin pitch. Whether Ho-Woon knows about my dilemma or not, they lightly wag their tail and ask, "So, which system will you cultivate through, yang pitch or yin pitch? Is there a significant difference depending on which one I use?" Naturally there is. If you cultivate through yang pitch, you become more specialized in creating things like stars of prophecy or explosions of revisions. If you cultivate through yin pitch, you become more specialized in denying the prophecies and revisions of other true immortals. Of course, you can also mix the two, creating 3 races through yang pitch and erasing another 3 races through yin pitch. Doing so would specialize you in maintaining your own prophecies and revisions. As I listen to Ho-Woon's words, something comes to mind. So yang pitch specializes in creation, yin pitch specializes in destruction, and mixing them specializes in preservation. Is that correct? That's right. Either way, it will greatly aid your cultivation of the immortal Tao from here on. Triple divinity. So that's what this is. Yang pitch and yin pitch. The powers granted after completing the true immortal formula of this upper immortal cultivation closely resemble the powers of Brahma nature, Narayana nature, and Mahesvara nature. Come to think of it, it makes sense. The Great Mountain Supreme Deity is said to have received teachings from Haiyan Mu, and even dual cultivated with her. That enlightenment seems to have melted into the upper immortal realm formula. Is there a particular reason you're asking me this? Of course there is. Up until now, you've forcefully broken through the realms using those brute force mantras of yours, but from here on, that won't work. You must cultivate the immortal Tao simultaneously without exception, meaning you must create or extinguish entire races solely by using the power of the immortal Tao. At those words, I let out a silent sigh. This is quite difficult. Whether it's yang pitch or yin pitch, how exactly is one supposed to carry it out using the immortal Tao of accumulating mountains? I don't even know where to start. This seems more difficult than I expected. What obvious nonsense are you spouting? Both yin pitch and yang pitch are naturally immensely difficult. Yin pitch may seem easy and convenient at first glance, but do you think erasing an entire race within a heavenly domain is simple? A race in a heavenly domain includes even the same race within the middle realms. Moreover, since those races could survive inside the middle realm within a great net immortal's body, you might even have to fight a great net immortal. Moreover, when you designate a race for extinction, if even a single member of that race worships a true immortal, you risk offending that true immortal, making it difficult to casually annihilate a race. Therefore, upper immortal cultivation isn't primarily about creating or destroying civilizations, but rather about building relationships with other true immortals and obtaining permission to eradicate the races that worship them or can be considered their descendants in that heavenly domain. In that case, perhaps yang pitch seems more manageable. Does yang pitch seem easier to you? The conditions are indeed far easier compared to yin pitch, but you will have to draft a blueprint for a life form that has never existed before. Sure, Earth upper immortals find this method slightly easier and tend to choose it, but it won't be easy. Going forward, you will never be able to assist the race you create directly, and if established races who serve other true immortals invade your race to enslave them, you can't directly intervene to stop it. Wait. At those words, something dawns on me. In that case, the slave races that struggle with immortal cultivation itself. Exactly. You must have seen them during your mortal days, correct? The weak, frail slave races for whom immortal cultivation itself is impossible. Pitiful beings whose entire existence is either food, pills, or mere trinkets like Narigis. Every one of them is no different from leftovers roughly discarded by upper immortals after being used in their upper immortal cultivation. I let out a faint sigh at those words. The origin of Jangik's small green race and other heart tribe. In the end, they are nothing more than remnants left behind by true immortal ranked beings after their cultivation. I realize that even yang pitch, though seemingly a bit more humane on the surface compared to yin pitch, is no less cruel in its essence. No, but there is still a way. Another method comes to mind. How about this? As the immortal beast Candle Shadow, I have become the progenitor of a race that didn't exist before. Wouldn't it be enough if I just spread my descendants, the Candle Dragon race, throughout all the heavenly domains? Ah, the Candle Dragon race. I've heard of them. Pardon, I ask in confusion. Why on earth has Ho-Wun heard about them? But I soon understand. There are occasionally fellows like you. Mutants who split off entirely from their original race, become immortal beasts, and establish new races and civilizations. As Ho-Wun continues speaking, I feel my face rotting. Such fellows are rare, but if any of them happen to oppose Radiance Hall, then Radiance Hall acquires their bloodline factor and scatters them across all the heavenly domains. In that process, I've also seen the Candle Dragon race, said to be your descendants, in the Heavenly King heavenly domain. It's because doing so fixes the method of upper immortal cultivation to Een pitch, making it easier for Radiance Hall to track. After all, those who revere the true immortals of Radiance Hall are spread throughout all the heavenly domains, so Een pitch won't be easy for you either. It turns out that while I was unconscious during my true immortal advancement, beings like the Sword Spear Heavenly Lord and others who entered the Sun and Moon heavenly domain had already obtained the bloodline factors of the Candle Dragon race. So, what is the method you are suggesting then? Kukik, Ho-Wun chuckles softly. If you go find Glass Peacock, it'll all be solved. Glass Peacock will transform into all kinds of immortal beasts and mate with you. That lunatic possesses the immortal beast true blood of all kinds of immortal beasts. After all, it'd be no different from copulating with a myriad of immortal beasts. If you copulate with countless immortal beasts and keep creating new races, you will breeze through the upper immortal cultivation. I pull out my six-sided club, and Ho-Wun clears their throat at my reaction. It was a joke. There's a better method. What is it? Return to the Gui. Ho-Wun smiles faintly as they continue. Wander throughout the heavenly domains, find races and civilizations, and make them face you directly. Then have them return, Gui, to your body. That way, other true immortals won't feel nearly as offended, and you will have something to say to them too. But even after hearing that, my expression remains far from pleased. This is the most widely known Een pitch cultivation method. Of course, you will have to properly establish the chi of the living beings who return to your body and make sure they worship you, so that no problems arise within you. As long as you manage to persuade the living beings, have them revere you, and convince the other true immortals who might have grievances over their descendants being returned to thee, it'll only take about 2 to 3 million years. Repeat that 6 times, and you will be able to complete the upper immortal cultivation neatly. Indeed, it is the most straightforward and seemingly acceptable method. However, I simply cannot feel at ease. Return to thee. After learning in the previous cycle that those who return to thee to the heavenly punishment supreme deity are living well, the burden in my heart lightened a bit. But even so, karmic fire flared from the fact that they had been returned to thee. In other words, the very fact of having one's well-lived life taken away is itself a torment to them, and that too is considered a sin. I recall Junjie, who still has not regained his reason inside my body. Junjie has become a spirit of glass true fire, but perhaps because of my pain embedded within glass true fire, he still has not come to their senses. This is despite me having lowered the concentration of glass true fire as much as possible. Maybe not for other true immortals, but at least within my body. It is too painful a place for living beings. The only reason I feel no guilt towards Junjie is because he tried to kill my master, Azure Tiger Saint. But I cannot throw completely unrelated living beings into this agonizing hellfire. Above all, my comrade is John Myung-hoon. I know what kind of suffering John Myung-hoon carries, and standing alongside him, I cannot commit acts like those of the heavenly punishment supreme deity. In the end, none of the methods satisfy me. Is there no other way? I rack my brain. The realm overseen by the great mountain supreme deity. It was the same during the 4-axis stage. The way of advancing through the realm itself is clearly structured to exploit those weaker than oneself, but the hidden method is one where you carve only yourself. This may perhaps be the realm once overseen by my master. That means, even through the way of the Salt Sea Supreme Deity, there is a method to undergo the upper immortal cultivation. None of the methods please me. What? First, I will talk things over with my comrades. I decide to gather my comrades for a discussion after a long time. Oh, Hong Fan, you've grown younger. I pat Hong Fan on the shoulder as I look at him, who has advanced to the entering nirvana stage. From looking like he was in his late 40s to early 50s, Hong Fan now bears the face of a man clearly in his early 40s. He's taller than before, and his beard's a bit shorter too. From the wrinkled old man of the past, he now has the imposing build of a general. This guy, he's gotten taller than me. Hong Fan, appearing in his early 40s, is quite tall, and seems to be a whole head taller than me. Compared to Oh Hyun-suk, who grew a head or 2 taller under Azure Tiger Saint's training compared to back on Earth, Hong Fan is slightly shorter. but he seems to have a similar height to Oh Hyunsuk from back then. However, despite his large build, he does not give off a brutish impression. Rather, his beard is darker, giving him an old-fashioned air, and his gaze has deepened. The white hairs that peeked out here and there during the sacred vessel stage have now disappeared completely. Hong Fan has jet black hair that seems to absorb light, and clad in a black robe, he looks like a dignified imperial king. Ha. Thank you for the compliment. Even his tone and voice somehow feel more refined, exuding a weighty atmosphere. And as I look at this Hong Fan, I feel a strong sense of déjà vu. What is it, this guy? Sure enough, it is a face I've seen somewhere before. Of course, his height seems much taller than the someone I recall, but his overall appearance is far too similar. Once he becomes a bit younger from the entering Nirvana stage, I think I'll be able to figure it out. Damn, I don't know. No matter how hard I try, I cannot remember. I've seen someone like this before, but I just can't figure out who. Unable to figure out his identity, I pat Hong Fan's shoulder a few more times and reunite with my comrades after a long while. Oh, Seo Eun-hyun. It's been a while. John Myung-hoon, Kong Min-hee, Oh Hyun-suk, Kim Yun, and the others. Before I realize it, every single one of them seems to have surpassed the Vestige Liberation Immortal level and reached the Upper Immortal level. Especially Kong Min-hee. Who knows what she did, but she is in the late Upper Immortal realm. She appears to have almost completed her Upper Immortal cultivation and is preparing her Great Net Immortal advancement. It's been a long time for me as well. It's only been a mere 1,000 years, but everyone seems to have made remarkable progress. A mere 1,000 years. To think 1,000 years has now become something mere. Oh Hyun-suk mutters bitterly as he glances around at us. Then, seeing Hong Fan, he flinches again. Somehow you look even more like my master. I mean, the naming supreme deity. Ha, it's an honor. Your face shape and eyes are subtly different though. We gather after a long while and exchange casual conversation. My immortal treasures Uy, Hamjin have fully adjusted to their life as my immortal treasures and are outside chatting with the immortal treasures of my comrades. Before long, the friendly conversations die down, and I begin to speak honestly about my problem to my comrades. First, I find it difficult to properly perform the Upper Immortal cultivation. As you all know, the Upper Immortal cultivation is none other than. I explain to my comrades the methods of Yang Pitch and Yin Pitch and seek their advice. For these reasons, I cannot bring myself to use such methods. That is why I asked you all to gather after so long in order to discuss it. I see. John Myung-hoon's face darkens at the Yin Pitch method of extinction. Golden Shaking Bird recommends creating thunder beasts. She says a true immortal is a unique existence in themselves, and thus can be considered a race and civilization on their own. Therefore, if you create 6 thunder beasts and scatter them, the Yang Pitch cultivation would be completed. It is quite an extreme method. Hearing this, Oh Hyun-suk's eyes brighten. Doesn't that mean killing 6 true immortals would also complete the Upper Immortal cultivation? I'm not saying I'll do that, but I thought I'd ask, wondering if it's possible. Kong Min-hee shakes her head at his words. If you want to use a method of killing or creating, ordinary true immortals won't do. They'd have to be immortal beasts. I too, with the help of my master, reached the late stage of Upper Immortal by killing reapers of Upper Immortal level in the underworld. The thunder beasts that Golden Shaking Bird mentioned likely also carry certain traits of immortal beasts, making Upper Immortal cultivation possible. Damn it. Destroying or creating 6 civilizations, or killing 6 immortal beasts. Either way, the difficulty is the same. If you kill immortal beasts, then all the races benefiting from that immortal beast true blood would decline as well. So not just the difficulty, but the essence itself is the same. Hearing Kong Min-hee's words, Kim Yun raises a question. She's asking if puppet-like dolls can't be considered as a race. Well, my master said that kind of method is not possible. It's a method blocked entirely at the level of civilization development, apparently. Kim Yun looks a little sullen, and Oh Hyun-suk asks a question. Is there no way to get more help from your master? Well, my master said that just gathering everyone here was already everything they could do for us, so they won't interfere any further. They won't interfere with us. Damn it. Then what method is there? For a while, we rack our brains, searching for a way to carry out the Upper Immortal cultivation as humanely as possible. But even after 3 days and nights of discussion, we are unable to find a proper way of Upper Immortal cultivation. Damn it. Is creating a slave race or thunder beast the most humane method after all? Or perhaps raising 6 disciples and raising them to the realm of Earth Upper Immortal could be an option. In that case, I'd rather just hunt 6 immortal beasts. But even if you kill immortal beasts, their subordinate races would still decline, wouldn't they? John Myung-hoon lets out a deep sigh. In the end, is making them return to the most humane method? Yet that is the one I find least appealing. Just when we are immersed in gloomy contemplation about the inhumanity of the Upper Immortal cultivation, Hong Fan steps forward and speaks. I have listened carefully to the discussions between Master and Elders over the past 3 days, and as a result, a quite decent method has come to mind. Would you like to hear it? What method is it? Because Hong Fan has a history of often coming up with brilliant ideas, realizations, or methods that break open an escape route, I look at him with expectant eyes. Ultimately, a true immortal is treated as a unique existence, therefore regarded as a race and a civilization. However, to use a true immortal for upper immortal cultivation, that true immortal must unconditionally be either an immortal beast or a thunder beast with some immortal beast traits, correct? That's more or less right. In that case, how about this? You could kill Master. At Hong Fan's words, Kim Yun, Kong Min-hee, and John Myung-hoon's faces turn cold, and Oh Hyun-suk's face twitches as he speaks. What do you mean by that, Hong Fan? Please hear my explanation. The subordinate race under Master, the Candle Dragon race, is a race that has continued cultivation even without the immortal beast True Blood since before Master's ascension. Therefore, even if Master is gone, they will not decline. So all that needs to happen is for Master to die. After killing Seo Eun-hyun, you're telling us to live on with the hands that killed our comrade? Ha. There is no need to worry about that. Is there not a good method? Hong Fan pats my shoulder and smiles. Didn't Elder Min-hee speak it? That the heavenly venerable of the underworld has declared they will no longer interfere with the elders. That is to say, it can be interpreted as them saying they will no longer taxidermize the elders. Meaning, from now on, elders are now free to make use of the underworld as you please. At Hong Fan's continued explanation, everyone's eyes widen. Be killed and reincarnate. And after reincarnation, once again receive the power and authority Master obtained in Master's previous life, advance to upper immortal, then die again. In theory, this way, all of you can carry out the upper immortal cultivation in a humane way. Doesn't that mean, in the end, we lose the Seo Eun-hyun of the previous life? That is not the case. The reason I suggest this is because Master possesses an immortal art that allows one to remember their previous lives. I realize what Hong Fan is talking about. Cultivate the flawless mantra. If Master continues cultivation while remembering the memories of previous lives, Master will not only complete the upper immortal cultivation, but also finally and completely acquire the flawless mantra, which Master has not fully mastered. More importantly, he smiles subtly as he speaks. This is the twin holding heavenly domain where the swallowing heaven supreme deity resides, is it not? In the heavenly domain of the swallowing heaven supreme deity, who is practically the incarnation of the flawless mantra. Who knows? Perhaps Master might even gain the authority of the God of Gods who gave birth to the swallowing heaven supreme deity in the distant past. Yes, you're certainly right. It is an excellent idea. My comrades look at me with worried expressions, but I rise from my seat and speak. I will do as Hong Fan says. Because I look at Hong Fan. He looks at me with eyes filled with trust, and as I meet those dependable eyes, I suddenly flinch in surprise. Now I remember. Just as I am about to express my will to my comrades, looking at Hong Fan's face, I suddenly recall who he resembles. Hong Fan, an unforgettable connection from the head realm. He greatly resembles that person's appearance during their lifetime. Song Jin, the repository keeper who allowed me to browse through devilish arts. Hong Fan looks excessively similar to the appearance of Song Jin during his lifetime when he died, or when he faced Yuan Li. With an inexplicable sense of mystery, and with the feeling as if I am dreaming a dream, I stare directly at Hong Fan for a while. Chapter 620, Inverted World 1. Master? Why are you staring at me like that? It's nothing. I shake my head slowly. He does seem to resemble Song Jin, but also feels different. To begin with, he is a head taller than Song Jin. And Song Jin never had that imperial air about him. If Song Jin was merely an elder of Black Ghost Valley, then Hong Fan is a king. His solemn face has a bearing that anyone would call the demeanor of a king. Why does he specifically resemble Song Jin? The most likely reason, I infer, is that Song Jin was present when Hong Fan was born. If not that, I decide to ask Oh Hyun-suk, just in case. By the way, Hyun-suk Hyungnim, didn't you mention that your master, the naming supreme deity Hyen Rang, resembles Hong Fan? Would it be possible to show me their noble appearance? My master? All right. Well, as Oh Hyun-suk flicks his hand, a simple illusion unfolds before us. What appears before our eyes are a total of 5 figures. One of them is someone in the form of a young boy. He has short hair like vapor, and his face even appears rather pretty at a glance. Wearing a silver robe, he looks quite beautiful. Next is a sturdy young man, still with short vapor-like hair. He is a large man clad in a purple robe, his skin extremely pale. Next is a middle-aged man. My eyes widen as I look at that figure. His hair remains the same vapor-like white, but his clothes are black, and his face is almost identical to Hong Fan's. Only the shape of his eyes and the overall impression seems slightly softer. Yes. So Song Jin. What stands before my eyes is unmistakably Song Jin. I stare at the middle-aged figure, taken aback. Beside the middle-aged man is an old man with vapor-like hair, dressed in what appears to be white burial garments. Dividing the 4 seasons of life into 4 forms, at their center is the figure of a giant composed of vapor. The one in the center is my master's main body, and those around them are my master's transformation forms. I was told they represent the process of my master's growth. What do you think? Doesn't my master's middle-aged stage look exactly like Hong Fan? At first, I thought my master had just dyed their hair to tease me. Certainly, it's true. I look at the old man dressed in burial garments. It is undeniable. That old man's appearance is almost a mirror image of Hong Fan's childhood. I can't say much about the boy and young man forms, but high in rank's middle-aged and elderly appearances seem like exact copies of Hong Fan. Setting aside that the eyes are less sharp than Hong Fan's and that the height is a bit shorter, I'd believe it if someone said they are the same person. It's while we are marveling at Hong Fan and High in rank's appearances. Twitch. One of High in rank's faces suddenly begins to move in place. Oh Hyunsuk flinches in surprise and hurriedly erases the illusion. Yikes, Master almost noticed. Is it bad if High in rank notices? Of course it is. If my master realizes where I am, they will probably torment me again with some strange grand methods. Why would I let my master catch me when I've finally gained my freedom? It seems Oh Hyunsuk is quite satisfied having slipped away from the naming supreme deity and doesn't particularly want to be caught by them. By the way, I've been too busy in the past 1,000 years to get the chance to ask, but what is Hyung Nim's immortal title? Me? Well, I don't know either. Pardon, master never gave me one. Why that is, I don't know either. Who? At those words, Hong Fan's eyes glint for some reason. How strange. Bestowing names is not only the authority of one who possesses the origin essence of naming, but also a duty and responsibility. Is that so? But how do you know something like that? That is. Hong Fan is about to say something, and I immediately clap my hands. Ah, I see. You must have been a reaper of the underworld in your previous life who was close to the naming supreme deity. That would explain everything. Since the naming supreme deity High in Rang also seems acquainted with the heavenly venerable of the underworld, perhaps you were the one acting as a bridge between the two. At my words, Hong Fan looks at me silently, then gives a smile whose meaning I cannot discern. An amusing speculation. Indeed, hearing Master say that, it feels like memories are returning. I think. I had good memories with the underworld and High in Rang. What is this? I was just throwing it out there, but did I actually hit the mark? Since Hong Fan seems to affirm it calmly, I nod blankly. Well, that's good then. I hope you regain your memories as soon as possible. Yes, thank you. I continue chatting warmly with Hong Fan, but then John Myung-hoon suddenly cuts in. So, is Hong Fan what's important right now? Well, Hong Fan's past life is important in its own right. The most important thing right now is your situation, Seo Eun-hyun. In the end, does this mean we have to kill you? I smile bitterly at those words. Given the current situation, this seems like the most humane method. I suppose. Damn it. How is killing a comrade the most humane option? Are you telling us to push you toward death with our own hands? Watching John Myung-hoon get angry, I inwardly let out a small exclamation. Anyway, Deputy Seo who's already lost one arm won't last long in that body. So this time too, let's have Deputy Seo sacrifice himself. Kukik. Somehow, the John Myung-hoon of the first cycle and the current John Myung-hoon overlap in my eyes, and I feel laughter welling up. You've really grown so much, John Myung-hoon. What, you punk? With what you just said, I'm sure of it. Indeed, if it's by your hands, I'd be fine dying. What? Kill me. And I speak to my comrades. Become my parents. Oh Hyunsuk stands up, his voice trembling. I'll do it instead of that brat. Just kill me, and I'll reincarnate instead. Forbidden. Kong Min he suddenly cuts off Oh Hyunsuk's words with a hardened face. Seo Eun-hyun is able to do so because he possesses the flawless mantra. None of you will be able to remember your past lives. What? No, wait, Kong Min-hee, didn't you also learn something called the flawless mantra? Min he must not. You, who are you? Oh Hyunsuk glares at Kong Min-hee. However, Kong Min-hee does not answer Oh Hyunsuk's question and simply continues speaking. This child is the workings of the Imperial Venerable. Therefore, she cannot be recklessly thrown into a gamble. The only one who can die is Seo Eun-hyun, who created an absurd immortal art like the canvas of myriad forms and connections. If this child dies, she will only lose herself. Having finished speaking, Kong Min-hee closes her eyes and opens them again. Then, she blinks and looks around. What is this? Why is everyone so quiet? Seeing how everyone seems to know except me. Seo Eun-hyun, did something happen to me? It seems one of the reapers from the underworld possessed you for a moment. I clearly recall who that presence belonged to just now. It was that of the current chief judge, the Yama True, Lord Yin Luo. I shrug my shoulders and speak. There's no helping it. Apparently, there's no better candidate than me. The faces of my comrades darken, but I instead smile. Cheer up. This is my choice. If it really bothers you, have Ho Wun chew me up, and you can all just shove me into the fox's maw. And, I will say this again. Don't think of it as simply killing me. My voice that carries a hint of lightness at the start soon becomes more serious. Please take care of me. The me who will reincarnate and be born again. Please. I look around at them as I speak. John Myung-hoon, Kong Min-hee, Oh Hyun-suk, Kim Yun, Hong Fan. Become my parents. Become my parents. Become my teachers, and protect me until I safely complete the cultivation of the flawless mantra. Didn't I say it at the start? That until we all finish our cultivation, let us save our strengths and watch over each other quietly here. Everyone can simply think of it as watching over me until I finish cultivating the flawless mantra. So, there's no need to worry. All my memories will return in the end, and as Hong Fan said, by cultivating the flawless mantra here in the twin-holding heavenly domain, I will also gain the power of the god of gods of the distant past. I speak while looking at them, who somehow still wear troubled expressions. This is my will as well. So everyone, please respect it. For a moment, the other comrades also fall into solemn silence. However, in the end, the discussion regarding the upper immortal cultivation proceeds according to my suggestion. Upper immortal cultivation, immortal beast candle shadow. It is decided to kill me. So why exactly do I have to help with this? Ho Wun speaks with a face full of displeasure. Right now, in front of us, stands a fox-shaped doll made from one of Ho Wun's clones. When my comrades imbue energy into this doll, the secret art of Ho Wun recorded in the doll will activate, causing it to bite and devour me. Well, since I'm imprisoned by you, contributing to killing you is nice, but do I really have to watch you getting violently killed by your own comrades? What's so violent about it? It's just a fox-shaped doll swallowing me, nothing more. What I mean is, whatever. Do as you please. It's not like just providing a clone will qualify me for the upper immortal cultivation judgment anyway, so I'll just enjoy watching. Ho Wun sighs, leaves their clone behind as if telling us to handle it ourselves, and disappears. John Myung-hoon thrusts a lightning spear into Ho Wun's clone. Quachajijik. Ho Wun's clone surges with red lightning. The first to act is John Myung-hoon. John Myung-hoon speaks with a hardened face. Say your goodbyes. It'll be decades before we meet again, at least. As soon as his words end, Kim Yun runs to me and hugs me. Peek. HNGH. Kim Yun sheds tears as she holds me tightly for a long time. After a while, she wipes her tears, and with her face flushed, she grabs my head. I close my eyes as I see her light pink intent, and what follows is Kim Yun's headbutt. Kwon. Kim Yun says something while glaring at me. Though I cannot make out her words, I somehow understand their meaning. You must come back safely. Yeah, I'll definitely come back. Over and over again. Next is Oh Hyun-suk. Hyungnim. Kwon. Oh Hyun-suk promptly bursts apart my head. Ah, wait. When it's my turn after John Myung-hoon, I'll kill you even more painfully. So make sure to come back. Yes. The farewell with Oh Hyun-suk is short. Next is Kong Min-hee. Kong Min. Jock. Kong Min-hee strongly slaps my face. Her eyes redden. I told you to stop sacrificing yourself every time. Last time, the time before, and now again. Sorry. Don't say sorry. It's your will, after all, so I'll respect it. As a disciple of the Imperial Venerable, there's no need for farewells. I've already grasped enough of the principles of life and death, and I know firsthand that death isn't the end. But, in the next life, you will have to suffer under me for a bit. With that, Kong Min-hee turns her around and walks away. And finally, John Myung-hoon approaches. Do we really have to do it this way, Seo Eun-hyun? Th. If the words this time too come out of your mouth, I'll rip it apart. Damn it, you bastard. You really are a fucking idiot. You were the same back on Earth. Everything about you, even your breathing, pissed me off. I wanted Kim Yun for myself, but she only stuck to you. And damn it. Even that vicious Kong Min-hee, when I tried to get with her she never gave me a chance. But when she was with you, there was always that strange atmosphere. Only Oh Hyun-suk clung to me like a joke. All the staff, directors, chiefs, they all liked only you. Damn it. I hated you, Seo Eun-hyun. It's the same even after coming here. You never explain things properly, always triggering my trauma and brushing everything off with crap, like this time too. Did you think I was a pushover just because I quietly followed along? You low-birth bastard. Honestly, I want to beat the shit out of you. John Myung-hoon speaks with red lightning flowing all over his body. But killing and beating are different things. So, come back, Seo Eun-hyun. Come back so I can beat you properly. It's not like you've only made 1 or 2 mistakes deserving a beating from me. Isn't that right? Yeah, once this upper immortal cultivation is all over. Shut up. I don't want to hear ominous crap like that. Shut your mouth and come back safely. Seo Eunhyun. With those words, John Myung-hoon squeezes his eyes shut and shoves me into the fox's maw. As I enter the fox's mouth, I accept all my cultivation and authorities being destroyed by John Myung-hoon's red lightning. Beyond the fox's mouth, I see them all. John Myung-hoon, Kang Min-hee, Oh Hyun-suk, Kim Yun, Hong Fan, Ham Jin, Ui, Yeo Y, Golden Shaking Bird, Ho Woon, and the others. The last thing I hear before losing consciousness is Hong Fan speaking with a smile. I will follow you every time. Thus, reciting the flawless mantra, I leap toward the next life. That is my first reincarnation. Chapter 621, Inverted World, 2. Horroric. Flames cover the surroundings. It is a familiar sight. Blade Mountain True Lord. A familiar great king is in front of me. Ordinarily, I regress with death. However, this time is different. It is because I am cultivating the flawless mantra. This lowly sinner, Seo Eunhyun, greets the great king. Raise your head. At the Blade Mountain Great King's words, I raise my head. As expected, it is a familiar sight. Countless ghost kings, Asuras, Yakshas, Rakshasas, and Reapers surround me, and before my eyes, a colossal-bodied judge looks down upon me. Strange. Ordinarily, the Imperial Venerable should have called you. Why is it that this time, the Imperial Venerable shows no reaction? Well, no matter. The Imperial Venerable must have a purpose. We merely follow that purpose. From now, the judgment of the sinner Seo Eunhyun shall begin. The Blade Mountain True Lord contemplates for a moment as though trying to grasp the meaning of the heavenly venerable of the underworld, but soon shakes their head and begins to judge me. The first step of reincarnation has begun. How much time has passed? I undergo all 10 trials carried out by the underworld 10 kings, and at last, I stand before a giant wheel. It is not before the heavenly venerable of the underworld. It is before the front of the projection of the white wheel. Kugugugugugu. I realize that the wheel is spinning endlessly. Beyond that rotation, I see countless souls. So that's how it is. The wheel carried on the back of the heavenly venerable of the underworld is, in itself, an authority governing the cycle of reincarnation. Linjingli. The judgment you have received shall become proof of the life you will live henceforth. The karma you accumulated and the fortune and misfortune you consumed in your previous life shall guarantee your next life. I listen to the words of the last great king of the underworld, 10 kings. The words of great King Wu Dao Zhuanluan. Step forward, then you shall obtain your next life. Yes. Thus, I move forward, reciting the flawless mantra. Let's go to the next life. I chant the flawless mantra, perceiving my soul and flesh. My main body still remains in the present world. The cultivation method of the flawless mantra is as follows. Leaving the main body behind, only the spirit departs to the underworld to be judged and reincarnates with a powerful spirit containing solely a single will. And that one will is this. It is precisely reciting the flawless mantra while standing upside down. No matter whose child I am born under, no matter what connections I encounter, cut them all off and solely, unceasingly, continue reciting the flawless mantra. That is the cultivation method of the flawless mantra. And meanwhile, my main body remains in the present world, preventing me from disappearing completely. Thus, the complete death recognized as regression does not arrive. Of course, soon enough, it will. I step forward, taking a step toward my next life. A familiar sensation overtakes me. The world turns achromatic, and I begin to be slowly pushed out from this world. I am about to regress. But that can't happen. Yu Wang, just as I had preset, my wheel emerges at this moment. The wheel fiercely resists the force of regression, and within that resistance, I start heading toward the next life. And after some time, Swaya, this place, is it a flower field? I realize I have arrived at some kind of flower field. Then, someone approaches me. Are you cultivating the flawless mantra? I cannot answer, but as they come near, the authority of regression halts. I see, merely by their existence, my next life has been secured, and thus regression is severed. Will you truly be able to surpass obsidian? I shall watch. Now go. Do not forget that the flower you will obtain here, that is, the fate and fortune that will determine your path ahead, all depends on the deeds of your past life. With those words, I lose consciousness. Wah. Within the twin holding heavenly domain, aside from great net immortals, there are a total of 4 middle realms. They are commonly called the 4 great middle realms of the twin holding heavenly domain, and each bear a different name. Krita, Grip, Realm. Trita, Great God Realm. Devapara, Awapar Realm. Kali, Ko Realm. These peculiarly named four great middle realms are said to have been personally named by the god of gods who created the swallowing heaven supreme deity in ancient times. And, in one corner of the stable realm region within the critter realm, in one area of the human zone where the human race lives, a baby is born. Heek. Heek. What is this? However, the mother, upon seeing the baby, immediately gasps and throws it aside. The newborn, thrown away by the mother right after birth, stands on its hands. The baby stands upside down and begins chanting strange incantations. The mother, a lower-class commoner, recoils in terror, stepping backward from the baby. And no, that thing isn't my child. Even though she has just gone through childbirth and her body is difficult to move, the mother stumbles and flees, desperate to get away from the bizarre infant. But regardless of whether the mother does so or not, the baby endlessly chants the eerie mantra, standing upside down. How much time passes like that? Flash. A 5-colored light seems to swirl from the sky. An energy of 5 colors coils around the area. Each light is red, blue, purple, light pink, and black. That day, the humans of the critter realm witness in the sky a vision of a red heavenly king, a blue heavenly king, a purple heavenly king, a light pink heavenly king, and lastly, a massive snake. Not long after these visions appear, someone appears before the upside-down, chanting child. It is a girl clad in a light pink robe. The girl gazes at the child for a while, then gently embraces the child in her arms. Even while in her arms, the child continues chanting, but soon, perhaps out of exhaustion, falls asleep. Holding the child, the girl looks up at the sky for a long while. The girl advances down the street with the baby. The girl seems mute, unable to speak, and the baby appears to have been born with a strange mind, standing on his hands every day while mumbling bizarre words. The two go around begging. Since the girl produces no milk, she goes begging for milk to feed the baby and sustains herself by doing menial labor. As time passes, the baby and the girl grow. At first, they are merely a mute girl and a mentally deranged baby, but before long, they meet other beggars and form connections. A young man with a large frame but a limping leg, a boy missing both arms with an odd obsession with human hands, and a blind girl unable to see, all join their ranks. The group of 5 beggars wander from place to place, begging. The mentally deranged child also grows over time. The child becomes a boy, then grows into a young man. But even as a young man, he continues to walk on his hands, chanting incantations. Before long, tales of this beggar group spread widely among the human race, and countless people come to know about them. However, no cultivator shows any interest in them. Only mortals lacking spiritual energy or lower-tier cultivators bother to visit and watch them. How pitiful. TSK must have committed some sin in a past life. Everyone looks upon the beggar group with sympathy. But among them, the one especially unable to do anything by himself, the mentally deranged man. They look at the man standing on his hands and curse him. No matter how deranged he is, he's old enough now. Shouldn't he at least be of some help to his family? Truly shameless. Not even cultivators can cure him. So what's to be done? TSK. Passers-by continue to curse the man standing on his hands, as if knowing he, being deranged, cannot understand anyway. Some even loudly curse him outright. But in truth, the one standing on his hands is unexpectedly intelligent. He constantly ponders while standing on his hands. Why does he walk on his hands? Why can't he speak like the others? And why must he endlessly recite strange incantations? Isn't this too cruel a fate? He, too, wishes to walk upright like other people, speak normally like other people, and live an ordinary life like other people. However, he cannot. The instinct rising from deep within his soul refuses it. No. The moment he tries to place his feet properly on the ground, his head spins, and his heart pounds as if his breath will stop. And when he tries to stop chanting those strange incantations, he feels suffocated and the sky turns yellow. Thus, he cannot stop this bizarre behavior. He can only continue living this meaningless life, devouring whatever food his family gives him while standing on his hands. Time continues to flow, and he grows old. Even in old age, he stands on his hands and chants incantations. By now, the family who spent their entire lives with him have all reached the end of their lifespans. He, too, feels the life within his body dimming. He earnestly wishes, please, if there is a next life. In the cold winter wind, he sheds tears as he prays. Please let me live an ordinary life. That is the end of his life. The man who lived his entire life standing on his hands opens his eyes. He lived a miserable life. Except for his family, no one ever approached him. No one ever tried to form a connection with him. To anyone who saw him, he was nothing but a madman. However, it is not as if he wished for such a life. The man, who lived a wretched and painful life, opens his eyes and looks around. This place is, What reflects around him is a world made of countless mountains of glass swords. And the man realizes for the first time in his life that he is not standing on his hands, but sitting. The man who stands on his hands. One shed tears. Why, at last, I recover all my memories and weep. It was such a miserable life. A single lifetime. Living not as me, accustomed to pain, but as another pure being who had never endured pain. That life was unbearably long and agonizing. It has given me a new kind of suffering that I have never experienced before. Drip, drip. How long do I struggle alone? I suddenly realize there is a familiar presence before my eyes. I see. It was you all. The family who took care of me my entire past life. John Myung-hoon, Kong Min-hee, Oh Hyun-suk, and Kim Yun. Thank you. Truly thank you. And seeing me like this, John Myung-hoon speaks bitterly. Will you continue? I cannot answer for a while. Because that one life, with everything lost, and living as a miserable madman, was too sorrowful and painful. But I will keep going. Even as tears fall, I open my mouth. I cannot give up here. I cannot give up halfway. Because, even if I must endure this wretched and painful life, I have received a great grace from you all. As I was granted life, I undeniably met my family. Even if it was something agreed upon beforehand, I have received grace from them. Therefore, even if I must endure this endless suffering, I will not give up. Because I am still so far from repaying the grace I received from them. Let's continue. John Myung-hoon. John Myung-hoon reaches out his hand to me with a sorrowful expression. That is my second reincarnation. Though the flawless mantra may have been leaked before, only the obsidian devil heavenly king alone has ever properly cultivated it. I wonder if you will be able to endure its cultivation to the end. The process of the flawless mantra proceeds like this. After dying once, I reincarnate and live my entire life standing on my hands, then die again. Upon dying like that, I recover my memories and resurrect within the immortal body I previously left behind. At that point, I have the choice whether to continue cultivating the flawless mantra or not. And I have decided to continue cultivating it at least up to my second life. I look up at the Blade Mountain True Lord, who gazes down at me curiously, and open my mouth. Please begin the judgment, O great king. Very well. Judgment in the underworld is carried out according to the domain each great king oversees. In particular, they focus on judging things like inflicting pain upon others, taking others' lives, acting with malice, and exploiting others. And those standards are never those of mortals. Even if one has not killed other humans or other intelligent races, one is punished, because one had eaten the meat of animals that have been killed. Even if one avoids meat entirely and consumes only vegetables, one receives punishment. It is because one had stepped on passing insects by accident and killed and ate grasses. Even if one ate nothing but mud, one receives punishment. It is because one had stolen the lives of insignificant creatures living within the mud. The underworld considers it a sin if you influence the fate of even the smallest speck of dust in the world, and that speck of dust suffers. In this world, even breathing becomes an act of committing sin. I receive punishment for stepping on grass, breathing, and killing microorganisms. And I receive punishment for making my parents, who gave birth to me, flee in terror, and for failing to support the family with whom I lived my entire life. Having paid the price for all my sins, I stand once again before the wheel. Take a step forward, and it will be your next life. I know. I step forward. I once heard that the ability of the obsidian devil heavenly king allowed them to completely skip all the complex judgments of the underworld. But I willingly accept every judgment, because even those seemingly unreasonable judgments are the proof of my life. I reincarnate into the next life. It is the familiar flower field. You have lived your previous life in suffering. How was it, that painful life? An old man holding a flower basket smiles at me. The world draws a taiji. That is why, where there is no fortune, there is misfortune, and where there is no misfortune, fortune arises. In your past life, you kicked away all fortune, choosing only misfortune, and stood on your hands. Was it not so? He smiles faintly and sprinkles something on me. It is light. Having lived a lifetime in misfortune, in this life, live within fortune and virtue. I close my eyes as the light falls upon me. I see the next life. One of the four great middle realms of the twin holding heavenly domain. The dragon race territory of the Trita realm. In one place within that dragon race territory, a dragon egg cracks open. Oh, the crown prince is about to be born. Ha ha ha. Surely since it is an egg birth holding immense vitality, a bloodline that much powerful will be born. The black dragon race's dragon king and dragon queen smile at each other as they look at their soon-to-be-born child. However, what emerges is, strangely enough, a baby dragon who immediately stands on his hands and spits out bizarre, incomprehensible sounds. What is this? Hear me. Call the royal physician. Contact the priest. It seems a ghost has possessed the crown prince. Taken aback, the Dragon King and Dragon Queen of the Black Dragon race quickly gather their subordinates. But on that day, not a single one among those assembled is able to cure the crown prince's strange condition. In the end, the Dragon King and Dragon Queen of the Black Dragon race, holding back tears, lock their eldest son away in a solitary chamber. Furthermore, they hide the entire matter from everyone, entrusting the mad child born to them to a mute human race mortal girl. The mad crown prince born to the dragon race is thus, from the moment of his birth, left forever imprisoned in a solitude chamber, in the hands of a human race caretaker. The inverted prince, who since childhood continuously stands upside down and mutters bizarre words, grows up under the care of the caretaker while harboring many questions. Why must he do such things? Why must he mutter such strange words? Why is he unable to bring happiness to his parents? He tries to escape this bizarre fate, but for some reason, he cannot stop performing the act. It is already an uncontrollable instinct. Unlike others, he behaves differently, making himself feel like some sort of monster. The crown prince is clearly born possessing noble fortune and virtue, yet he is unable to enjoy any of it. Time passes. The human race caretaker who cared for him eventually dies, and another caretaker arrives. It is a caretaker without arms. Unusually obsessed with hands, this caretaker spends a long time together with the prince. Eventually, that caretaker also reaches their death, and around that time, the prince too senses his own lifespan nearing its end. Why did I have to be born this way? The fact that he cannot behave normally or stop reciting bizarre words is not of his own will. It is simply instinct, and he does not possess the strength to suppress that instinct. As his lifespan nears its end, he contemplates why he had to be born like this, and while tormented, meets his death. Thus, he dies. Is this the second time? I shed tears. It is only now the second time. My chest aches. It is not merely listening to or watching someone else's life. He is me, no different from another one of my personalities. Kook, Kua, I wail, recalling myself who lived a life of misery, unable to form any connections. It was so painful. Familiar figures arrive before my eyes. Will you continue? I will continue, no matter how many times. However painful it may be, this is something that must not end. Remember this, John Myung-hoon. I speak through falling tears. Right now, I am in so much pain. But, even if life is filled with suffering, it is not composed solely of it. The most precious teaching I was once taught. Life is not only about seeking pain within it. That is why, though the past life may have been hard, it was also undeniably a blessing. I look at Kim Yun and John Myung-hoon. Thank you for becoming my family in that past life. You fool. Kwachajijik. Once again, a lightning spear pierces into me, and once again, I lose consciousness. That is my third reincarnation. Receiving judgment for sins in the underworld no longer feels significant to me. After all I did in my past life was stand upside down on my hands and recite the flawless mantra. I never maliciously harmed anyone. Therefore, the sentence I receive is always considerably lighter compared to other spirits. Sure, they say I killed microorganisms, but since I never directly killed any intelligent races, the deaths of such microorganisms do not result in severe punishment. I quickly serve all my sentences and head toward the next life. A familiar flower field welcomes me, and a familiar old man appears. In your past life, you kicked away all the fortune and virtue I granted you, choosing instead to draw misfortune upon yourself. TSK, I truly wonder how far you will cultivate. For as the flawless mantra accumulates cycles, it truly becomes a mantra worthy of being called a god of gods. Here, the fortune and virtue you should have enjoyed in your past life, and the fortune and virtue you are to receive in this life. Thus, I receive the fortune and virtue I should have enjoyed in the past life, along with the fortune and virtue added in this new life. Continuously undergoing the cycle of reincarnation, taking in nothing but misfortune from the world, while endlessly accumulating the fortune and virtue one is meant to enjoy upon one's spirit. As the cycles accumulate, the more the fortune one is to receive increases, kicking away all of the overwhelming fortune and virtue within life, and living only under misfortune through reciting the flawless mantra until death, thus evolving the innate fortune one is born with. Rolling and rolling like a snowball the fortune one is meant to receive, evolving one's fate further and further, and transcending with the fate that has reached the pinnacle of the bridal. That is precisely the flawless mantra. I will definitely complete it. I steel my heart as I head toward the next life. No matter what calamities the world throws at me, I will, without fail, complete the flawless mantra. In doing so, I will, no matter what, return the grace I have received from this world. Chapter 622, Inverted World, 3. Quarrurum. The twin holding heavenly domain trembles. The entire heavenly domain quakes as though an enormous sea of thunderclouds sweeps over it for a brief moment. At the same time, a tremendous roar engulfs heaven and earth. Countless true immortals and minor gods gaze toward the source of the roar. Kururum. Then, at the overwhelming momentum emanating from that source, all but a few flinch back. Quachajijik. At that moment, a certain figure spreads across the entire twin holding heavenly domain. It is the figure of a giant with 3 heads and 8 arms. That terrifying-faced giant brandishes its 8 arms and lets out a roar. Kururum. After roaring across the twin holding heavenly domain, the figure of the giant soon dissipates. And all the true immortals, as well as those at the entering nirvana and sacred vessel stages within the twin holding heavenly domain realize. A new middle realm has been born within the twin holding heavenly domain. In other words, a new great net immortal has been born. Numerous true immortals attempt to find and establish ties with the newly born great net immortal. However, strangely enough, the new great net immortal cannot be found anywhere. The true immortals of the twin holding heavenly domain merely assume the new great immortal is being cautious and, with that understanding, they return to their places. Meanwhile, in one corner of the twin holding heavenly domain, Purple Lotus Realm, there, John Myung-hoon, who has finally reached the realm of great net immortal, looks at the man before him with a hardened expression. I have risen to great net immortal. Congratulations, John Myung-hoon. Are you going to continue? Of course. The man before him, the immortal beast Candle Shadow, the crystal glass being Seo Eun-hyun, smiles faintly, offering a congratulatory smile to the now great net immortal John Myung-hoon. John Myung-hoon turns away, smiling bitterly. Now it's Hyun-suk Hyungnim's turn. And Kim Yun as well, regardless of the circumstances, needs to cultivate the seed itself. So she'll have to kill you. There are still 12 more times left, Seo Eun-hyun. Is that so? Finishing his words, John Myung-hoon turns around and walks away, and in front of Seo Eun-hyun, a burly man appears and stands. Watching Myung-hoon having to kill you in every lifetime, I always thought it must be painful. But that, too, is your choice, isn't it? Seo Eun-hyun. It is. In that case, I won't kill you with difficulty while looking at you. Oh Hyun-suk smiles. I'll kill you while smiling. So, you shouldn't carry that burden in your heart either. Is that so? Seo Eun-hyun gazes at Oh Hyun-suk with an ambiguous expression. And immediately after, as if having made a decision, Seo Eun-hyun whispers something to Oh Hyun-suk. A moment later, Oh Hyun-suk's face trembles slightly. I see. Master, Azure Tiger Saint. Master has. Understood. Oh Hyun-suk speaks with a hardened expression. I will use that one called Jun-jae as the key, and head to the Elephant Nose Heavenly Domain to ask. Ask what Master Hyun Riang has done to Master Azure Tiger Saint. Seo Eun-hyun nods as he looks at Oh Hyun-suk, and the two exchange words for a while. A little while later, Oh Hyun-suk raises his fist and kills Seo Eun-hyun. That is Seo Eun-hyun's 7th reincarnation. Which number is it now? How many times have I died and been born again? How many times have I despaired in a painful life, returning again and again through the twin holding heavenly domains Krita Realm, Trita Realm, Dvapara Realm, and Kali Realm? How many times have I come back, circling through the 4 middle realms? Is that so? The 18th time, huh? I faintly smile as I at least see John Myung-hoon, Oh Hyun-suk, and Kim Yun, already reaching the realm of a great net immortal, or levels equivalent to it. 18 reincarnations. Within each, I suffered endlessly and screamed. Every time I retrieved my memories, the desire to give up surged over me like a great sea. But, every time, my comrades became my family. Because the flawless mantra must be completed without assistance granted by fate, my comrades always took the forms of mortal beings and took care of me. They become my family, my parents. That's why I cannot give up. Even if it's to achieve my comrades' goals together. I can never give up. John Myung-hoon's immortal Tao is the immortal Tao of heavenly punishment. Kong Min-hee's immortal Tao is the immortal Tao of vice. Oh Hyun-suk's immortal Tao is the immortal Tao of 7 stars. Kim Yun, though she does not follow the system of immortal cultivation, says her own immortal Tao is the immortal Tao of end of the vast cold heavenly Lord. Before I knew it, my comrades had one by one reached the realm of a great net immortal. Woo-woom. And before I know it, as I look at my comrades, I begin to see visions of something gradually forming clearly behind them. What is that? Behind John Myung-hoon, a red Dharma statue with 3 heads and 8 arms, bearing a fierce expression, becomes visible. Behind Kong Min-hee stands a Dharma statue holding a medicine bottle, wearing a serene face. Behind Oh Hyun-suk stands a being performing the Vajra Mudra and Lotus Mudra. The being has 1 head with 2 faces, with 1 face opening its mouth as if pronouncing, ah, ugh. and the other as if pronouncing uh. Behind Kim Yun is an elegant figure, holding a lotus in one hand and wearing a treasure vase, Feng, atop the crown of its head. The being is surrounded by radiant light, imbued with infinite power, and envelopes Kim Yun. Watching those figures, I feel somehow as if my comrades are becoming more distant than before. But that's not what's important right now. What's important now is my own cultivation. From here on, it is the beginning of cultivation for myself. Thus, I take my own life for the sake of my upper immortal cultivation. I'm glad I can see you. As soon as I enter the underworld, I look up at Kong Minhee, who is visible. Before I know it, Kong Minhee has become one of the judges of the underworld. She looks at me with a sorrowful expression, yet still carries out my punishment alongside the other judges. Because she is the judge of vice who judges vice itself, she cannot exert much influence when it comes to executing my punishment. After all, what great vice can someone like me, who merely walks around upside down on their hands, possibly commit? At most, the only vice she can judge me for is the act of killing microorganisms. But even so, I still like seeing Kong Minhee's face briefly in the underworld. Always be there in that seat. Quiet. The sinner must not show personal emotions. Kong Minhee judges me with a bitter smile, and I quickly pass by the other judges, reaching my next life. 19th cycle, 20th cycle, 21st cycle. As the cycles of reincarnation gradually accumulate, I continue my upper immortal cultivation quickly. 22nd cycle, 23rd cycle, and then 24th cycle. At last, I realize that I have completed the Een pitch cultivation. Now, it's the late stage of upper immortal. All I need to do is prepare for the advancement ritual for Great Net Immortal and reach that realm. But why, I wonder? What is this? I blink as I look at myself arriving in the next life. I live my 25th life, standing on my hands in an incomprehensible state, reciting the flawless mantra. Then just like that, I reach the end of my lifespan and die. And I come to understand what the problem is. I see now, the immortal Tao of the mountain hasn't grown sufficiently. That's why, even though it's as if I've annihilated 6 civilizations, I end up repeating it again. Realizing this, I once again utter a prophecy through the immortal Tao of the mountain. I prophesize. This is a prophecy about my future, and at the same time, a revision. In the place where this immortal will reincarnate in the future, the mountain this immortal has accumulated shall accompany. This immortal shall end life near that mountain. Through the power of the immortal Tao, I prophesize that a mountain will arise in the place where I will be born in the future. Thus, the cultivation of the mountain immortal Tao and the cultivation of the flawless mantra resume to proceed side by side. 26th cycle, 27th cycle, 28th cycle, 29th cycle. It's now the 30th cycle. Before I know it, the power of my immortal Tao of the mountain has grown considerably stronger. Furthermore, the fortune and virtue accumulated every time I repeat my life also continues to strengthen my fate, and I can feel that my innate talent as a true immortal is growing stronger. Even if I stop cultivating at this point, that alone will bring significant improvement in strength. However, there is a problem. Even now, the immortal Tao of the mountain hasn't grown enough. The talent may have grown, but my strength seems to be something separate. It can't be helped. I ask for understanding from my comrades. They still seem emotionally burdened by following my painful lives. Nevertheless, they continue to support me and become my family. In this way, I continue reciting the flawless mantra. Gradually, the power of my immortal Tao of the mountain grows. I unendingly kick away my fortune and virtue, living life repeatedly like a madman, standing upside down on my hands and chanting the flawless mantra. At the same time, through prophecy and revision, I create mountains in the places where I will be born. As time passes, as the cycles repeat, those mountains gradually grow larger. My immortal Tao is steadily growing more powerful. And, as I continue growing mountains, I come to realize that at some point I have gone beyond merely growing mountains and can even create an island. 50th cycle. I gaze down at the 4 great middle realms of the twin, holding heavenly domain. By now, there are quite a few islands that I have created in the sea of the 4 great middle realms. Well now, they say one becomes incredibly powerful after learning the flawless mantra, but how is it that you, even after repeating 50 lives, are still only at that level? One day, Ho-Woon came to find me. Anyway, now that you've reached the stage where you've moved from mountain to island, you should be starting to feel it. Does your immortal crown still show no response? Well, I still do not feel the immortal crown. Hugh, this is quite troubling. Still, if you keep at it steadily, there will be results. Yes, thank you. By the way, I look at Ho-Woon and ask, you will be reaching Great Net Immortal anytime now. Yeah, though I can't betray you because every one of your comrades is too much of a monster. Stay alert. The moment your comrades lose interest in you, I will betray you. Haha, you're honest. But I think, Senior will never be able to betray me. Humph. Anyway, if you've succeeded in going from building mountains to creating islands, the next step is a continent. Accumulate mountains upon mountains and make a continent. Finishing their words, Ho Woon disappears before my eyes. I engrave Ho Woon's teaching in my heart and head toward my next life. The more lives I head towards, I gradually notice that because of the flawless mantra, the inherent value of the race I reincarnate into begins to change. At first, I am nothing more than a lowly human commoner. But before long, as I continue to receive and receive and receive fortune and virtue, eventually, my very birth becomes that of an incredibly powerful being. Kurururum. At some point, I find myself born directly as a nascent soul stage cultivator from the start. Of course, as soon as I am born as a nascent soul cultivator, I become targeted by other cultivators to be used as pill ingredients or as a body to seize. However, my comrades continue to become my family and protect me. I keep repeating the prophecy of creating islands, strengthening the power of my immortal Tao, and ensuring I end up on the isolated islands I created, spending my life there. Thus, I continue to go to the isolated islands I have made through the power of the immortal Tao, and in each and every life, I endlessly chant the flawless mantra. And finally, when I reach my 100th reincarnation, by now, my fortune and virtue overflows, reaching the point where I am born directly at the grand perfection integration stage. At this point, there are no longer any beings who trouble me. Only some true immortals show mild interest, and my comrades begin to protect me from those true immortals. Also, is it perhaps because the integration stage is when one steps into the door of immortal arts? I obtain a unique immortal art through the flawless mantra. The moment I am born, I marvel at the sight before my eyes. It is Mount Sumeru. The entirety of Mount Sumeru fits within my eyes. It is different from the phenomena extinguishing mantra, the 100th life. From the moment I am born, I obtain an immortal art that allows me to observe all of Mount Sumeru within my view. And I realize something. I see. At some point, I began thinking that I was merely repeating being born and dying through the flawless mantra. But that was not it. The swallowing heaven supreme deity. At some point, I have come under the influence of the swallowing heaven supreme deity, endlessly repeating this history under the authority of history repetition, like the obsidian devil heavenly king. 150th cycle. My immortal Tao grows steadily stronger, now reaching the state where I can create a continent with a single prophecy. At my single prophecy, the ground rises, a continent forms, and a natural ecosystem is born. 200th cycle. Before I know it, I am born as an innate star-shattering esteemed one. Author's note. I'm sorry that I couldn't post more chapters on Hangul Day. I'll try to make up for it soon. By the way, the heavenly kings attached to the Enders are each John Myong-hoon, based on the Vajra that removes filth, Huiji, Jinggang. Kong Minni, based on the medicine Buddha, Yao Shu Yulat. Oh Hyun-suk, based on the benevolent kings, Rumwang, Jinggang Li Shu. Kim Yun, based on Mahasthamaprapta Bodhisattva, Dashru Drupusa. Chapter 623, Inverted World 4. This places. 1. Open my eyes. I see. 1. Am a being born chosen, entrusted with a mission. My sole purpose and mission of existence is only to expel matter so that the great true persons can create stars. As an innately born star-shattering stage esteemed one, I must become a component that allows this universe to turn. But, for some reason, I notice that I have another mission besides that. Why? It feels like I must carry out a different mission. There is something more important than the mission given to me. Eventually, I come to know what it is. That's right, being inverted. That is the very thing I must prioritize over the mission I was born with. However, how does one become inverted? I am confused. I am round. The bodies of star-shattering stage esteemed ones are satellites, so there is no up or down. Then how should I invert myself? How can I stand upside down? However, such contemplations vanish in an instant. I see. Then let's defy and go against my fate. Let's defy the mission I was born with. That is how one without up or down stands upside down. From that day on, I abandon the mission of an innate star-shattering esteemed one, which is the creation of heaven and earth spiritual energy and matter. Instead, I begin to inhale the spiritual energy and dust clouds that the innate entering nirvana true persons use to create stars. Kugagugagu. I, who should be a help to the world, choose instead to become the misfortune of the world itself, experiencing misfortune again and again, and becoming misfortune itself. Is this the pinnacle of the bridal? Suddenly, a voice that seems to sigh brushes past my mind, and before my eyes, the image of a white-robed figure sitting atop a glass sword mountain flashes by. I cannot tell what this is. What is certain is that I am doing something wrong. I begin to repeatedly scatter incomprehensible bizarre words around me while simultaneously beginning to defy my mission. And the more I do so, the deeper my self-loathing grows. I feel like I have become a being unnecessary to this world. It feels as if the very laws of the world are mocking me. Then, at some point, quag-wag-wang, someone pierces through me. Ah, is this the end? This painful life, spent defying my mission and forcing power into my body all my life. Even as I am being pierced and dying from something, I feel joy. It is rather pleasant. A life where I cannot properly follow my fate. Isn't it better to not exist at all? And so I fall asleep. I see. I understand who it is that killed me. The other true immortals. And among them, one who has had prior acquaintance with me. So it's you. From my second reincarnation, they must have been keeping an eye on me. I speak to the being before me, descended like an incarnation of darkness. John Mang-hoon has spread Indra's net to restrain them, while Oh Hyun-suk, Kang Min-hee, and Kim Yun are blocking what appears to be their main body from beyond the purple lotus realm. And I calmly gaze at them. That being, like an incarnation of darkness. The immortal beast, Black Dragon, Feng. They are the one who popped and killed the innate shattering stage me in order to stop me. When you first nested in the bloodline of my descendants, I didn't believe it. The cultivation of the flawless mantra is so harsh, painful, and terrifying that even a being who has acquired the formula can't hope to reach minor success. Proper cultivation should be impossible, but watching you cultivate the formula over 100, over 200 times, I finally became certain. Black Dragon looks down at me and speaks coldly. You will become the Devil Heavenly King. You will become the second coming of that monster, and once again try to devour Mount Sumeru. This immortal cannot allow it. Whatever the case, Mount Sumeru is our cradle, a place we must protect. Therefore, I absolutely cannot allow the birth of a second swallowing heaven, Kuntan. Quachajijik. Black Dragon takes a step forward, trying to touch my main body, but John Myung-hoon's Indra net blocks them. That's far enough. Led by John Myung-hoon, Oh Hyun-suk, Kang Min-hee, Kim Yun, and Hong Fan appear around me. This is the path chosen by Seo Eun-hyun. No one can stop it. The world will not perish. So vanish. Black Dragon looks around at my comrades and gives a meaningful smile. Of course, each of you is stronger than me. Fine, I admit that. I have no confidence in breaking through you all to kill Seo Eun-hyun. But what if it's us? Kugugugugu. Beyond the purple lotus realm, true immortals of the twin holding heavenly domain begin to gather. This immortal is weaker than you all, but who knows if it's US? They cast a sinister gaze toward one corner of the purple lotus realm. Allah protecting immortal of Radiance Hall. I know you were caught and forcibly brought here by these ones. At this point, the Radiance 8 immortals have gone out to the outer sea, so you may not receive their help, but seek aid from the envoys of the final age of Dharma. Contact the 33 heavenly resplendent treasure immortals. We will aid in your liberation. Kururung. Along with those words, in one distant corner of the purple lotus realm, the colossal body of a pale, true immortal rises. It is Ho Woon, now only half a step away from becoming a great net immortal. O sinister immortal beast, do you think I do not see your deluded goal? Do not scheme against this law-protecting immortal of Radiance Hall, Ho Woon, and vanish. Ha ha, a deluded goal, you say? The incarnation of darkness before me, who was trying to threaten me, returns to Black Dragon's main body beyond the purple lotus realm. The main body of Black Dragon is a colossal dragon of darkness large enough to cover an entire galaxy. Kugugugugu. As Black Dragon reveals their presence, the Heaven Immortals and Earth Immortals of the twin holding heavenly domain, who seem to be threatened by the flawless mantra, begin to surround the purple lotus realm. Is there any place more deluded than Radiance Hall? Do you know their true will? As far as this immortal knows, you made a pact with that one to learn that true will. Immediately break the contract now and join this immortal. This immortal shall tell you the truth. Apparently, Black Dragon also knows the true will of Radiance Hall and tries to persuade Ho Woon. However, Ho Woon brings out their tails in their true form. Tails made of pale flame appear even larger than Ho Woon's true form, swaying gently. How foolish. What this immortal agreed upon is not merely the exchange of information. This immortal vowed to aid him with utmost sincerity and wholeheartedness. Therefore, even if I receive the information, I cannot betray him right now. In Ho Woon's hand, a star of prophecy begins to form. I am the law-protecting immortal of Radiance Hall. It is this immortal's duty to uphold the justice of light. Do not attempt to deceive an envoy of Radiance Hall with such wicked words. You cannot even be honest with yourself. Very well, then. Shall we engage in a match? Black Dragon's main body begins to retreat. But at the same time, the countless Heaven Immortals and Earth Immortals who have followed Black Dragon all begin to chant prophecies and revisions with their mouths. My comrades, too, begin to chant prophecies in return in order to protect me. Ho-Wun also steps forward with my comrades, voicing their prophecy. Ho-Wun looks back at me and speaks. Watch closely. This is the prophecy of an immortal who walks the immortal Tao of the mountain. As if unfolding the prophecy in order to ultimately impart teaching to me, they grant me enlightenment. Seeing this sight, I realize that a true war between true immortals has begun. I continue to reincarnate without end. Only, the scope of reincarnation has narrowed slightly. Before, I reincarnated across the 4 great middle realms of the twin holding heavenly domain, but now, it is only within the world of purple nebula in a corner of the twin holding heavenly domain. I reincarnate solely within the purple lotus realm. I become an innate esteemed one and live a long, long life. Yet the more I am born, the more I live, the stronger the misfortune scattered by the true immortals becomes. Even my comrades cannot easily protect me, and I die in all sorts of bizarre, unimaginable ways. Like so, time flows once more. 300th cycle. Before I know it, I am an innate sacred vessel. I have become a being like Seo Huiol. I have been born as an immortal art itself. Kugugugugugu. A sacred vessel must provide light to the world simply by existing. But I am a being who must stand upside down. Therefore, I begin to define my own fate. Kugugugu. I do not offer light. Instead, I devour all light. I become a monster that devours all nearby light. However, as I devour light, I feel something uncomfortable. No, that's not it. It's more than just discomfort. This isn't right. I can tell that something is deeply wrong. I thrash, not wanting to devour any more light, but it's no use. The repeated history itself has become fate and binds me. So that's how it is. Kurururum. As I am ultimately killed by Black Dragon, who breaks through the protective barrier of my comrades and enters the purple lotus realm, I realize. Flawless mantra. The flawless mantra is, in itself, alive. And this mantra continuously whispers to me, to devour the entire world, to swallow all things in the world and rise to the pinnacle. That alone, it says, is the true answer. Hearing this, I grit my teeth. Don't make me laugh. That is no answer. I am me. I do not accept the way of the flawless mantra. Therefore, there is no way I can remain as misfortune itself like this. The master of myself is me, not you. I begin to resist the flawless mantra that has at some point began to make me into the bridal itself. And even as I do so, time continues to flow. For 100th cycle, I am endlessly killed by true immortals, again and again, and finally, I am born as an innate entering nirvana. At the same time, Kurururum. The immortal Tao of the mountain finally reaches its peak. At first, my immortal Tao could only create small piles of sand. Then, at some point, the sand piles grew larger and larger until they became hills. The hills became mountains, the mountains became valleys, and eventually, I could create islands in the sea. In time, the islands also became continents. Thus, the immortal Tao that raises continents grew stronger and stronger, and finally, it has reached its peak. Ururum. The immortal Tao of the mountain can now accumulate the dust of the universe to create stars. I see. I recall that when I first met Ho-Wun, unlike the other true immortals, they only opposed me by creating stars. The foundation of a true immortal, the star of prophecy. To hone and polish that prophecy to the extreme. This is the way of the immortal Tao of the mountain. Kururum. As one who gives birth to stars, I create stars as an entering nirvana and devour the very stars I create. And once again, I meet death. I see. I now know what I must do to escape you. I mutter as I gaze at the flawless mantra that binds me. You will not have it your way. From that day on, whenever I return to my main body after death, I create countless stars using the power of the mountain immortal Tao. Then, when I reincarnate and am born again as an innate entering nirvana, I devour only the stars I made myself. I create and consume by my own hand. Repeating that process, when the time comes that only stars I did not create remain, I use the phenomena extinguishing mantra. Kurururum. I compress myself into a single point. If I withstand the compression into a single point, I grow. But if I cannot endure, I die. And none of the me's who lose their memories and reincarnate under the flawless mantra can stop the phenomena extinguishing mantra, so they all die. The flawless mantra ultimately decides in a past life what I must do in the next, and I in the present live according to the law set in that past life. That is why I begin to recite the phenomena extinguishing mantra alongside the flawless mantra. 500th cycle. At last, I become an innate true immortal. I become a mantra in and of itself. At this point, even if I reincarnate, I instantly regain my power and authority as an immortal beast and recover all my memories. As a result, I have become able to cultivate yang pitch as well. Each time I rise again as an immortal beast, it is the same as successfully cultivating yang pitch, So I end up continuously cultivating both yang pitch and yin pitch together. And from that point onward, I begin to sense something strange. I have already reached the peak of both heaven upper immortal and earth upper immortal through the methods of yang pitch and yin pitch. Now, with just a little preparation for the great net immortal advancement ritual, I could become one. The immortal Tao of the mountain has also reached its peak, far stronger than it had ever been before. Then why? I feel a sense of doubt. Why have I still not been granted the immortal crown? It is strange. And the moment I feel that strangeness, flash. The movements of Brahman nature, Narayana nature, and Mahesvara nature flicker across my eyes. I have cultivated yang pitch and yin pitch more than 12 times each, never harming any other race. I carved away only at myself in cultivation, and thanks to that, the cultivation of triple divinity also proceeded naturally. Perhaps because of this, I begin to see things I have never seen before. I realize that all things of all phenomena are contained within triple divinity. All beings of all phenomena carry triple divinity within them, and those beings who are intricately connected to triple divinity live with possessing what is called a heart. As I read the heart that exists throughout this entire world, I open my eyes wide. I realize why I have not received the immortal crown until now. It is true that my understanding of the immortal Tao of the mountain had been lacking until now, but there is another reason as well. Guak Am. The great mountain supreme deity Guak Am is blocking the immortal crown that is meant to be bestowed upon me.